Are you ready?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Listen, the American people don't want the president's health care bill, and they don't want the government to shut down. Republicans are listening. We passed a bill last week that would do just what the American people have asked. It's time for the Senate to listen and pass the bill that we sent over there. On the debt limit, we're going to introduce a plan that ties important spending cuts and pro-growth reforms to a debt limit increase. Now, the president says, I'm not going to negotiate. Well, I'm sorry, but it just doesn't work that way. We're not going to ignore Washington's spending problem, and we're not going to accept this new normal of a weak economy, no new jobs, and shrinking wages.
Gentlemen, welcome to the Steve Malzberg Show. It's Friday, and we made it through another week. That was John Boehner yesterday talking about the debt ceiling and the president saying he will not negotiate the debt ceiling. I know this gets all very confusing, the continuing resolution and the debt ceiling, two separate items, of course. And just a little while ago, the Senate voted 55-44 to approve a continuing resolution that they're now going to send back to the House. But this one restores funding for Obamacare. It was the House bill that took Obamacare out that went to the Senate. The Senate now put it back in. Now it goes back to the House. In just a little while, we'll be talking to Congressman Dennis Ross, a Republican from Florida, about what's next as the tennis game or chess match or whatever you want to call it continues. So we'll get to that. But I want to let you in on this from yesterday. Wolf Blitzer had Jay Carney, the president's White House spokesman. And I got to give Blitzer credit because he grilled him over the fact that when he was a senator, Barack Obama voted not to raise the debt ceiling. Now he says, they want to hold me, they want to blackmail me, they were holding us all hostage. I will not negotiate on the debt ceiling. It's always been raised. He voted not to do it when he was a senator. So Wolf actually gets to this with Carney. Let's talk to this here. This is cut 22.
He'll be the first president in a long time who won't negotiate with the opposition to try to raise the debt ceiling. He himself did it. Clinton did it. Bush did it. Reagan did it. They've all done it. So why is the president so firm right now in saying he doesn't even want to talk to the speaker or any of the Republicans to work out a deal to raise the debt ceiling? Okay,
good question, right? Very good question. I give him a lot of credit for asking it. And here's the spin from Jay Carney. It's cut number 23.
Wolf, I know, because you've been covering Washington for a long time, that you know that what happened in 2011, when Republicans threatened default if they didn't get what they want, had never happened before. Not under Clinton, not under Reagan, not under either of the Bushes. Had never happened. It is simply categorically false to say that any party in any negotiation over budget priorities had ever said, if I don't get what I want, I'm going to default on the full faith and credit of the United States. Had never happened before. And the mere flirtation with it in 2011, the threat of it caused this country economic harm, caused harm to the American middle class.
All right. Well, none of that is accurate, and it doesn't answer the question. Every president has negotiated over the debt ceiling, is what he said. From Reagan to the Bushes to Clinton, every president has. So why is Obama saying he won't? And then he goes and he talks about, well, in 2011, the threat to close the government down over that was unprecedented. Nobody was asking that question. That wasn't the question. So obviously he has no answer for that one. Let's move on to cut number 24. Here we go.
This president will not allow that to happen again. He will not allow Republicans to, at what they're saying now, basically attach a laundry list of partisan objectives to their responsibility to raise the debt ceiling, saying if I don't get what I couldn't get through the legislative process, what I couldn't get at the ballot box, what I couldn't get out of the Supreme Court, if I don't get that, we're going to crash the economy, and the American middle class is going to pay.
So the president is saying
wholly irresponsible.
He will not make any concessions to raise the debt ceiling. Is that right?
That's right. The president says he will not make any concessions to raise the debt ceiling, right? Not any concessions. Here's cut 25.
Here's the deal. He's not asking for anything to raise the debt ceiling. It's Congress's responsibility to raise it. He's not saying, I'll only sign an increase in the debt ceiling if Congress attaches one of my priorities. Only the Republicans are saying that they will threaten the full faith and credit of the United States if they don't get some partisan objective, some other item attached to the debt ceiling. We're not asking for anything. We're not asking for any legislative agenda item to be attached to raising the debt ceiling. We're just saying that we agree we should never default. We should never even contemplate default, and Congress ought to raise the debt ceiling. Only one party is asking something else.
All right, that wasn't the question. The question was, so the president won't negotiate with the Republicans, and he says, we're not asking for anything. We know that. That wasn't the question. The question was, first, Wolf started off accurately saying every president has negotiated over the debt ceiling. Every president. And he had no answer for that, so he talked about 2011. Now, so the president won't negotiate? Well, we're not asking for anything. Yeah, but the other side is. So whereas every president has negotiated, why won't you? Still hasn't answered that. And then in cut number, is we up to 26 now? Okay, cut number 26, get a load of this one.
Very quickly, remind us why the president, as a senator, voted against raising the debt ceiling.
The president voted against raising the debt ceiling as a senator to make a point about what he believed were wrong fiscal priorities of that administration. What then Senator Obama never did was say, I will vote to default if I don't get what I want. And
let me get this straight. The president, when he was a senator and George Bush was president, voted against raising the debt ceiling. In other words, if everyone had done what he did, then they wouldn't have raised the debt ceiling and we would have defaulted. But never did he say, we will default. That's neither here nor there, of course. So the president thinks it's okay when he's a senator to object to the president's fiscal policies and to voice that objection by voting no on the debt ceiling increase. But when the Congress is doing the same exact thing now to him, I won't negotiate. You're terrorists. You're blackmailing me. This is unheard of. Take it or leave it. How dare you? Wow. Wow. But don't forget, Barack Obama voted no on George Bush's Supreme Court nominee also. So, here's a guy, when he nominated his Supreme Court nominees, he said, and his people said, the president's entitled to his nominee for the U.S. Supreme Court. But Obama, as senator, didn't believe that. All right, we're going to come back. Congressman Dennis Ross, Florida Republican, joins us to talk about the next move for the Republicans on the back and forth over the continuing resolution and the funding of Obamacare on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV, and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
According to the FBI Uniform Crime Report, there are over 5,000 robberies every day. Your home could be at risk of being burglarized. Don't put your loved ones and valuables in jeopardy. For just over $1 per day, your home can be protected from break-ins, fire, and more. Get the latest home security technology from Protect Your Home, your ADT authorized dealer. Over 6 million households sleep better at night with ADT monitored home security. What's more, Protect Your Home is offering you their latest equipment, an $850 value, absolutely free for qualified customers. Protect your loved ones and home today. Call now for licenses and to find out more. The call is free, 1-800-949-8201. That's 1-800-949-8201. Again, 1-800-949-8201. $99 installation charge, 36-month monitoring agreement at $36.99 per month. Payment by credit card or electronic bank account charge. For new homeowner customers with satisfactory credit history only. Local permit fees may be required. Certain restrictions apply. Cannot be combined with any other offer.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at AftershockVideo.com. AftershockVideo.com.
What is Lignet? Lignet is knowledge. Lignet is power. Lignet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is Lignet? Lignet is confidential. Lignet is sensitive. Lignet is security. What is Lignet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on Lignet.com. You've been briefed.
Are you worried about not having enough money to retire? Finally, there's a retirement solution designed to address the damage that the government spending policies and the Federal Reserve have inflicted on the value of the dollar. Introducing the Heritage Advantage IRA, the new gold and silver-backed retirement account from Heritage Gold Group. Don't let the declining value of the dollar put your retirement in jeopardy. The Heritage Advantage IRA puts retirement savers back in control with physical gold and silver combined with the tax advantages of an IRA. Call 855-GOLD-IRA to request your free, no-obligation Heritage Advantage IRA kit. Inside, you'll find information about how to buy physical gold and silver with your existing IRA or 401k. No additional investment required. Call 855-GOLD-IRA for your free Advantage IRA kit. Don't wait. Plans for new regulations may eliminate rules allowing you to buy gold and silver with your existing IRA or 401k. Call 855-GOLD-IRA. That's 855-465-3472.
Attention, anyone with diabetes or prediabetes. A special website has been created just for you. At the free website 99reverse.com, we reveal the one weird spice that's probably in your kitchen right now and how it normalizes blood sugar levels. People who have followed this plan exactly as found at 99reverse.com have not only normalized their blood sugar but stopped taking their diabetes medications with the astounded approval of their doctor. Now you can take this natural, safe, and drug-free approach to reversing diabetes. You won't hear this advice anywhere else. At 99reverse.com, we reveal 3 common doctor recommendations about diabetes and why they are horribly wrong. Plus, you get 3 specific actions to take right now, today, that get your blood sugar under control in 4 weeks or less. Go right now to 99reverse.com or call toll-free 855-99-REVERSE. Is it possible to reverse diabetes? Visit 99reverse.com and find out now, while this revolutionary video is still available for free. That's 99reverse.com or call toll-free 855-99-REVERSE. 99reverse.com.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Send us a clean CR, a clean debt ceiling. That's the path forward. There's no need for conversations. We've spoken loudly and clearly, and we have the support of the President of the United States, and that's pretty good.
All right, there you go. Harry Reid speaking yesterday. Of course, today, the Senate passing their version of the CR, continuing resolution, and now it goes back to the House. And joining us now is Florida Congressman Dennis Ross from the 15th Congressional District in the great state of Florida. Hello, sir. How are you?
Very good, Steve. How are you?
I'm okay. Okay, so now the Senate has spoken. It goes back to the House. So you guys are going to be working all weekend, correct?
Correct, and we expect to vote on this tomorrow. We'll have a conference sometime tomorrow morning as to how to respond to the CR, and I'm hopeful that they will consider my amendment to make sure that members of Congress and their staff are 100% subjected to this Obamacare law.
Well, I want to get to that. Yeah, so you're going to introduce an amendment or hope to introduce an amendment, and that would depend on whether or not, I guess, Boehner would let you introduce the amendment that would subject members of Congress and their staffs to the same rules and costs that everyone else in America would have, right?
Yeah, correct, Steve. Right now, under the law, the members of Congress and their staff are subjected to the provisions of Obamacare. However, a month and a half ago, the Office of Personnel Management came out with a ruling at the request of the President that said that despite them being under Obamacare, the government will continue to fund their subsidies or their contribution for health care benefits. There's no basis either in fact or in law for that. In fact, it's just the opposite, that if this is going to happen, then Congress must enact it themselves to allow for this contribution to happen. The American public expect that Congress should not be given any special fix because the American people are not getting any special fix from Obamacare.
Do you anticipate any other amendments being attached, or if you had your way, being attached to the House's answer this weekend to the continuing resolution?
Well, yes, I expect that on the medical device tax, that may also be attempted to be put on to the continuing resolution. There will most likely be an amendment to offer a one-year delay of the implementation of Obamacare. Look, what we have to be honest with ourselves with is that we have to do everything we can in our power to prevent this bill prevent Obamacare from becoming reality. But if we can't, then the least thing we can do is subject ourselves to it 100%, the same as the American public will have to be, and experience the same pain that the American public are going to receive from this law. So I'm hopeful that when we get together tomorrow, that if we offer this as an amendment, quite frankly, the Senate won't take it, and they'll agree to a one-year delay, and America will be better off if we have a one-year delay, at least on this law.
All right, now, walk me through what you just said. You said if you offer this amendment, and you said the Senate won't take it, and that'll result in a one-year delay.
Well, let's talk about this, Steve. We will get the bill out tomorrow. We will pass a bill tomorrow.
Right. Then it goes back to the Senate.
It goes back to the Senate. Now, what we put into this bill is really going to be our next offer, if you will.
Right. So let's say it's your amendment, and let's say it's the tax on the
medical device.
Right. Okay. So then the Senate says what? No.
Well, the Senate doesn't want to take a vote on this because I'll tell you why. There are some marginal seats out there of members of the Senate that are in red states that are Democrats that don't want to vote against having themselves being subjected to all the laws under Obamacare as all the American public are. So they would rather have a one-year delay that they could vote on instead of having to vote to exempt themselves from the contribution of the federal government to their health care plan. If we can allow for this to come out of the House, I believe that we can ultimately reach a negotiated settlement of a clean CR funding the government for at least 60 days, hopefully a lot longer than that, and to have a one-year delay in the implementation of Obamacare. If we do that, everybody wins. The Democrats have something they can rest their laurels on and say, look, we still got the government funded. The Republicans say we've prevented the implementation of the health care law, and now we can spend a year trying to figure out exactly what needs to be corrected in it if it does happen, or if we're fortunate, get a new Senate next year and get rid of this law entirely.
All right, so Congressman, and by the way, we're talking to Congressman Dennis Ross from Florida, Republican, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. So that would mean, officially or unofficially, talks, negotiations, which is something both the president and Harry Reid said there will be none of.
Well, that's great puffery or posturing, if you will, in the public eye. But in reality, they have to talk. I mean, they have to. This is one of those situations where they can't walk away from this and say it's our way or no way. I mean, the essence of politics is compromise, and not compromising your principles, but compromising the issues that you believe will get each party to some degree of winning. And this will get us to some degree of winning. We save the government from a shutdown. The American public are not exposed to the worst health care law we've ever seen. And we have a chance to move on to the next issue, which we desperately need to take up.
The debt ceiling.
The debt ceiling.
All right. Now, Congressman, let me ask you this. So the debt ceiling, you guys will not take up the debt ceiling until the CR is taken care of, right?
At this juncture, correct.
Yeah, because I read somewhere where that was a change in strategy, and I'm thinking, well, that's the strategy that makes sense. See what you could get out of this, and then if you can't get anything out of this, or if you can only get one little piece out of this, then then you could use your leverage with the debt ceiling, right?
Well, that's true, and I think that many members of our Republican Congress would be willing to raise the debt ceiling for 1 year if we could get a one-year delay in the implementation of Obamacare. The problem was we did not know what was going to happen when the CR came back here, and so many members were not willing to say they would support the debt ceiling issue, and that was taken off the table today.
Okay, so all right, so that it's all open. I mean, this is going to be quite a weekend. And let me just ask you on another front. We have the president today touting the fact that we have this agreement in the United Nations on a resolution. Inspectors are going into Syria, and they're going to inspect for the chemical weapons. And he said this never would have happened without the threat of force. Of course, in this resolution, if Syria doesn't comply, there is no threat of force in this resolution, which has been agreed to by the Security Council. So. Can we really rely on Syria to fess up after all this time and show and hand over all their chemical weapons, or do you think that's pie in the sky?
Well, I think it's pie in the sky. Look, Syria is not going to give up everything. They're going to play the game as long as they can to prevent a strike against them. If this president firmly believed that the threat of military strike is what allowed us to get to where we are. He should have done a threat of military strike back in March when they knew they were using chemical weapons, and if he had done so, we would have prevented the massacre of 1,400 of them in August of this year. So I don't believe that. I think that we do need to exhaust all diplomatic avenues. I don't think we've been doing it soon enough or properly enough, but now we're going down that path, and we need to. You know, I mean, we need to do everything we can to remove chemical weapons from all countries.
And one more, the Secretary of State meeting with his counterpart in the multi-nation meeting and shaking his hand and actually saying late last night that very soon we could end the sanctions on Iran. I mean, based on what?
No, we can't do that. We need to increase the sanctions on Iran. They are diligently going after a nuclear reactor. They are diligently going after refining more and more nuclear energy that will be used for...
Right, the uranium, the centrifuges. Yeah. So what makes Kerry say something like that?
I wish I knew.
Well, I thought maybe you did have a magic answer.
Not at all.
All right, listen, Congressman, thank you very much, sir.
You.
All right.
Sir, have a great day.
You too. As he prepares for a long weekend of work, Congressman Dennis Ross of Florida. And it's going to be a very newsworthy weekend, folks, and we'll see where this all leads. He thinks they could get ultimately, one way or another, a 1-year delay in the implementation of Obamacare. And he thinks that it's posturing when Obama and Reid and the Democrats say no negotiations. And, yesterday Obama said that they're blackmailing me. They want to blackmail me. And, they're holding us hostage and blah, blah, blah. We'll see. We'll see what will happen. You want to weigh in? 855-777-9660 right here on the Steve Malzberg Show, Friday edition, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Are payday loans ruining your life? If you have 2 or more payday loan cash advances, listen closely. You may be eligible for a program that payday loan companies don't want you to know about.
This program will get payday loan companies out of your bank account and put an end to the payday loan nightmare. Call for free information and find out if Payday Loan Support Center is right for you. Payday loan companies usually trap you into paying rates as high as 700%. We understand payday lenders' tactics. Don't let them take advantage of you anymore. All you need is 2 or more payday loans to qualify. We can help even if you're behind in collections or have bad credit.
Internet payday loans qualify for this program as well. So call 800-250-5084. That's 800-250-5084. The call is free and the consultation is free. Don't miss out. Call for your free information on payday loan relief. 800-250-5084. That's 800-250-5084. Again, 800-250-5084.
When you were younger, you probably never considered your heart health. But cardiologist Dr. Chauncey Crandall knows from experience that taking steps to care for your heart becomes more crucial as the decades pass, if you want to keep this vital organ ticking smoothly for years to come. That's why Dr. Crandall recently developed Cardio Advanced, a nutritional supplement containing 12 special ingredients, all selected to help improve and maintain your heart health and normal cholesterol levels. The flagship of this exclusive formula, esterified plant sterols, may help lower your risk of heart disease when taken as part of a diet low in cholesterol and fat. And great news, now you have the opportunity to try a 30-day supply of Cardio Advanced. Simply cover a $4.95 shipping and handling charge. Plus, if you act right now, you'll also receive a free doctor's guide to a healthy heart as a special bonus. Please visit cardioadvanced.com/radio for complete details on claiming your 30-day bottle of Cardio Advanced and free report. That's cardioadvanced.com/radio. Life is too precious to ignore your heart health. Visit cardioadvanced.com/radio now while supplies last.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-855-625-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So cancel the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-855-625-MY-TV. Right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows. Pause and rewind live TV. Even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $19.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-855-625-MY-TV. 1-855-625-MY-TV. Cancel the cable cable, cut costs, and get more. 1-855-625-MyTV. 1-855-625-MyTV.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names.
Really? Yeah.
They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call or go online to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. Call now, 800-908-1254, 800-908-1254.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show.
No.
This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you back to the Steve Malzberg Show as we await the arrival of Dr. David Samadi, our friend, who we speak to every Friday at this time. Let me catch you up on some breaking news. Barack Obama due to make a statement any second on the looming threat of a government shutdown over the continuing resolution, CR. That would be easier to say. And also the debt ceiling fight. So I'm sure he'll be saying more of the same, that he will not negotiate. And we'll let you know what he says when he says it. And this just in, breaking from the New York Times, a New Jersey judge ruled today that the state must allow same-sex marriage, must allow same-sex couples to marry in light of the U.S. Supreme Court's decision striking down DOMA. The ruling makes New Jersey the first state to react to the federal ruling by ordering a change in its laws. And again, this is not the New Jersey State Supreme Court. This is one judge in the state of New Jersey. And I don't know how this will affect things in New Jersey. I don't know if the state will appeal. I don't know if Governor Christie, in the middle of a gubernatorial race for re-election and with possible presidential ambitions, will appeal this, will fight this ruling or not. Judge Mary C. Jacobson of State Superior Court ruled that the state constitution must allow marriage in light of the U.S. Supreme Court's decision in June. Her ruling, as I said, her opinion, which the state may move to appeal, as I said that same-sex marriages would be allowed starting next month. The opinion was provided in a summary judgment in a case brought by Garden State Equality, a gay rights advocacy group. She wrote, same-sex couples must be allowed to marry in order to obtain equal protection under the law. So we will follow that in the days and weeks and months to come, I am sure, ladies and gentlemen, right here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Otherwise, it's just a slow news day on this Friday. Dr. David Samadi ready to join us. He, of course, the chairman of urology and chief of robotic surgery at Lenox Hill Hospital. And we have a lot to talk about today, some interesting things for you people who are concerned about your health. I'm still fighting this bug. I don't know what it is. I haven't taken antibiotics yet. You could hear in my voice the voice is a little better than it's been, but it's still there, and it's now it's almost 2 weeks. So I don't know why it's still there. A couple of things we're going to talk about with Dr. Samadi. One, we have the fact that prostate cancer will now be covered by the 9/11 Act, the Zadgroda 9/11 Act, which provides health care funding for survivors of 9/11. So prostate cancer added to the list. We'll talk to him about that. And let's what'd you say? Is he there? Okay, let's go to Dr. David Samadi right now. Hey, doctor, how are you?
I'm great, Steve. How are you?
Good, good. Great to talk to you again. I can't believe it's Friday already. And I can't believe I still have my same sinus thing going for another week, but we'll persevere. So tell me about this. How big a deal is this that prostate cancer will now be covered by the Zadroga Act, the 9/11 Act, which provides health care funding for survivors of the 9/11 attacks, as well as the World Trade Center responders, so many of whom have come down with all kinds of illnesses and cancers.
So this is actually interesting because when it came to these kind of cancers, at least in the field of urology, bladder cancer was one of those cancers that we were seeing a lot as a result of exposure to all the fumes and dust and everything else. But prostate cancer was not really high on the list. And then we have realized that the people who've been involved in 9/11 area, now they have an increase of 17% of getting prostate cancer. And that's part of the reason why now they're covering it. I think they need to be checked. I was just talking to a patient of mine, very young age, at the age of 42, that was diagnosed, and he spent a lot of time over there. So over 50 cancers and these respiratory conditions are being covered. Unfortunately, prostate cancer is one of them. So I think this is a good news for people who may or may not have coverage, and now we're able to take care of them.
Yeah, and of course, New York City police detective James Zadroga died in 2006 as the result of a respiratory disease directly attributed to exposure following 9/11. He was the first to have his illness and death deemed the result of his time spent at Ground Zero. So this is good news. And this stock may be good news as well. I mean, how many studies have we talked about coffee, involving coffee, good, bad, indifferent, and now we have a study that says further evidence of the health benefits of coffee consumption and its potential role in prostate cancer prevention.
That's right. So if you watch the program on Sundays, you know that they're almost calling me Dr. Coffee.
Right, on Fox News Channel, yeah.
Yeah, because I've talked about the benefits of coffee, and also just to remind people, it's not the caffeine that's important. It's all the elements in the coffee that now we're starting to see that will help.
All right, let me stop you right there. If I eat coffee ice cream, I know ice cream is no good for you, but would I get the same benefit or not nearly?
You will, and mostly because of the cadmium, the vitamin B's that's in the coffee itself, and also this is a very interesting. This is so far everything we've spoken about is that if you drink 4 cups of coffee, it may reduce the risk of prostate cancer. This is in patients that already have prostate cancer, and now we see that 3 to 4 cups a day, 8 ounces each, actually reduces the risk of recurrence. So for the cancer not to be returned. One of the things that I want people to be careful about is don't put a lot of milk and sugar in your coffee, because if you're going to have 4 cups with tons of sugar, that defeats the purpose, and that's your obesity and diabetes. But now more and more we're seeing that, some of these antioxidants in coffee really is working well in reducing inflammation, reducing the risk of cancer. So what I would tell people, Steve, is if you have gastric reflux, if you have any kind of esophagitis, inflammation of esophagus, if you're pregnant, if you have heart issues, you should stay away from coffee and talk to your doctor. Everybody else, I think this is a great drink. It's the secret to health. I stand behind it. Most studies long-term will tell you that coffee is actually good for you. It's kind of odd for a doctor to really push something like coffee, but you will see that I've converted a lot of people, including the medical field.
All right, now let me just also bring this up again as a layman, but I think you'll agree with this. All these studies, not just this one in particular, but all of these studies, for instance, if this study involves people who have had cancer, prostate cancer, they're more apt to then from that point on eat healthier, take better care of themselves. So it's not like you said. Don't put milk in the coffee and sugar in the coffee. It's not like you could eat anything you want and act any way you want and live any way you want. And but as long as you drink 4 cups of coffee a day, chances are you won't get prostate cancer or whatever. It all has to be within the context of a healthy living. Correct?
That's very true, and that's your point is well taken. Absolutely, you can't be like living like a very dangerous life and just like do everything and high cholesterol, high fat, and just coffee is not going to like make a miracle. But also the other thing that's I found interesting is that if you take 1 or 2 cups a day, nothing happens. You won't get much of a benefit. Over 6 cups is absolutely not healthy for you, and it causes a lot of heart issues. Something between like 3 to 4 cups a day is when you will get the best benefit of coffee, just something on the side. But of course, you want to have a balanced life. You want to make sure that you exercise and eat healthy. But this is something on the side that can actually help you.
All right, let's move on to another form of cancer, and that's lung cancer. Small cell lung cancer, known as SLC, comprises 15% of all lung cancers and has a very particularly grim prognosis. Now researchers have discovered a class of FDA-approved antidepressants which may prove effective in treating patients with this small cell lung cancer.
You know, I don't know what to make of this study except the fact that, you know, the long-term follow-up wasn't really there. And I'm not sure what to recommend, whether it's some sort of observational study that actually ended up with a positive outcome or not. But the truth is that, you know, with this kind of aggressive lung cancer, you know, it doesn't really give you a second chance. And if it's going to be some benefit from these antidepressants, mind you, the side effects are there and you may get addicted to it. But you know what? This kind of cancer, small cell, actually it kills and has high mortality. So it's something that you have to speak to your oncologist and making sure that there's no overlap in some of the side effects of medications. It's an interesting finding. We need a long-term data to really say if it's effective or not. And I'm not sure if we know the mechanism behind it. But it's a research that just came out. It was just published. And it's something for people who are diagnosed with lung cancer, small cell type, to talk to their oncologist, find out this would be beneficial, or if there's any interaction with any other medications that they're on.
All right, one final one for you. McDonald's is now expanding its anti-obesity push. I mean, you know, I worked at McDonald's back in the 70s, and it was just basically burgers, Big Macs, Quarter Pounders, filet of fish, which was fried, apple pie and cherry pie, which was fried, milkshakes. They've come a long way, as many of these fast food places have, and now as part of their value meals, they're going to let customers choose a side salad, fruit, and vegetables instead of French fries. So I guess all this is good, right?
You know something, we covered this also about a year ago, and I actually had a conversation with Mark Siegel, and I said, do you really believe that McDonald's is going to serve salads or push this healthy diet? He, of course, was a believer, and he did a report on it. And I said, let's talk a year from that time and see if they have made a progress. Last week, I said, by the way, what happened to the McDonald's story? Did it come through? He said, David, you were right. You know, it was a nice propaganda. I think the concept behind it is novel. I like the fact that they're pushing for healthy, you know, have apple on the side or fruits and vegetables. But the truth is that, unfortunately, part of the culture of McDonald's and Burger King is that people go there because they love that French fries. And they love that, you know, the whole like cheeseburger and everything else. And I tell you, I think like once a month, once in a while, if you have gatherings or if you don't have dinner, to have one of those fast foods, it's okay. But, you know, I just don't see how people are going to have the whole cheeseburger and to have some apple on the side. Moderation is the key. I think it's a lot of fried food, and salt is a big part of this. I guess what makes the French fries like so tasty. So just be careful, you know, but I hope it will take off. It would be a good thing for everybody.
All right, Dr. David Samadi, Chairman of Urology, Chief of Robotic Surgery at Lenox Hill Hospital. You watch him on Fox News on Sunday morning, correct?
Sunday mornings at 10:30 a.m. on Fox News.
You got it, and we'll speak to you next week, my friend. Thank you.
Steve, have a great week.
You too, Dr. David Samadi, ladies and gentlemen. All right, folks, so we have a lot to get to. We'll go to the phones when we come back. If you want to weigh in on do you drink coffee? Will you drink coffee now because it might be better for prostate cancer? Are you going to take advantage of the McDonald's expanded menu for salads and choices in the value meal? You don't have to have French fries. Or you want to weigh in on the budget battle. 855-777-9660, 855-777-9660 on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If you're a man over 40, your prostate could be forcing you to urinate frequently, even disrupting your sleep multiple times each night. You're not alone. Over half of men over 40 experience age-related prostate concerns. Fortunately, prominent medical doctor David Brownstein believes that aging prostate concerns are not inevitable. That's why Dr. Brownstein developed Prostate Revive, an advanced dietary supplement containing a unique blend of 15 ingredients designed to promote optimal prostate health. So men, as part of this new radio promotion, you now have the opportunity to claim your own 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, containing saw palmetto, beta-cytosterol, and numerous other prostate helpers. Just cover a $4.95 shipping and handling charge. Plus, if you act now, you'll also get a doctor's guide to a healthy prostate as a bonus gift. Please visit prostaterevive.com/radio for details on getting your 30-day supply of Prostate Revive and free report. That's prostaterevive.com/radio. Do something about those annoying age-related prostate concerns. Visit prostaterevive.com/radio now while supplies last.
150 million people suffer from headaches. All you want is for the pounding in your head to stop. Migralex stops the pounding. Migralex was developed by a neurologist and founder of the New York Headache Center.
I'm neurologist Dr. Alex Malzberg. After studying and researching the human brain for 25 years, I've developed Migralex, which eliminates pounding headaches. It works for my patients, and I'm so convinced it will work for you. I don't just guarantee it, I put my name on it.
Dr. Malzberg's Migralex gets rid of headaches fast without harsh caffeine, sodium, or preservatives.
Migralex works unbelievably fast, and it's gentle on my stomach.
Find out how to get your free bottle of Migralex. Call 800-532-2967. Plus, if you're one of the first 100 callers, you'll also receive the Migralex Quick Tips to Headache Relief absolutely free. That's 800-532-2967. Or go to migralexrelief.com. MIGRALEX relief.com. Or call 800-532-2967.
Attention seniors and baby boomers. A new website has been created just for you. SocialSecurity311.com. At SocialSecurity311.com, we reveal a weird trick that could help you add $152,000 to your Social Security payouts. For example, did you know how you file for Social Security can dramatically change the amount of money you collect? One simple step could add up to $1,000 to your monthly payouts. And other loopholes we found reveal 33 ways for big savings on your health care. At SocialSecurity311.com, you will also discover how you could save up to 50% on your groceries, along with 49 other ways to save as much as $50,000 starting today. Newsmax says this website is a critical resource for anyone over the age of 50. So go to SocialSecurity311.com now to find out how you could add extra money to your Social Security checks. That's SocialSecurity311.com. SocialSecurity311.com.
Heart disease is the biggest killer disease in America, and this doesn't surprise me. We are addicted to starches, sugars, fatty meats, and salt. People who live in countries with little heart disease eat very differently. One way some people stay heart healthy is by following what is known as the caveman or Stonehenge diet, so named because of its similarity to the way our prehistoric ancestors ate. People who follow this type of diet live off local fruits and root vegetables and get their protein mostly from fish and wild game they shoot themselves. Now, since most of us don't hunt or fish for all our protein, here are some simple tips on how you can start to eat like a caveman, modern day style. First, fill up on fruits and vegetables. Eat them first and you'll be less hungry. Feast on fish, which is rich in nutrients but not in calories. Choose fatty fish like mackerel, herring, sardines, and salmon, which are rich in heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids. Get out and go for a walk. Remember, our ancestors were hunters and gatherers, so they didn't spend their time sitting in front of a TV or computer all day. If you live more like a caveman or a cave woman, your heart will love you for it. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thank you for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows. We have TV cameras. Watch the show at Newsmax.com or listen on your favorite radio station. Here's Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back. We have breaking news. The President of the United States announcing just moments ago that he has spoken with the President of Iran on the telephone and said that it was a cordial conversation and that he thinks that we can make progress in shutting down any chance of a nuclear program that the Iranians might use to make a weapon. He pointed out, as he did at the United Nations, I believe, or in an interview previously, that the Ayatollahs have issued a fatwa against nuclear weapons in Iran. As if, you know, I guess you got to believe that means something. But here's the big news. For the first time in more than 30 years, the President of the United States in touch with the leader of Iran on the telephone. The President making that announcement moments ago. He's also now extended that chat at the White House in the press briefing room, I believe, to include the debt ceiling talk and the CR. He's telling Republicans to knock it off. Let's pick up his remarks if we can right now as he's speaking. All right, are we able to bring up the volume on that?
Unless I agree to an even longer list of demands, not just gutting the healthcare law, but cutting taxes for millionaires or rolling back rules on big banks and polluters or other pet projects that they'd like to see, and they've been trying to get passed over the last couple of years, that they would push the button, throw America into default for the first time in history, and risk throwing us back into a recession. Now, I am willing to work with anybody who wants to have a serious conversation about our fiscal future. I've demonstrated that by putting forward serious reforms to tax and entitlement programs that would bring down our long-term deficits. I have said in the past, and I will continue to say, that I'm willing to make a whole bunch of tough decisions, ones that may not be entirely welcomed by my own party. But we're not going to do this under the threat of blowing up the entire economy. I will not negotiate over Congress's responsibility to pay the bills that have already been racked up. Voting for the Treasury to pay America's bills is not a concession to me. That's not doing me a favor. That's simply carrying out the solemn responsibilities that come with holding office up there.
But he did not do that with Bush. He voted no.
About this.
Keep it up.
Nobody gets to threaten the full faith and credit of the United States just to extract political concessions. No one gets to hurt our economy and millions of innocent people just because there are a couple of laws that you do not like. It has not been done in the past.
He voted no for those reasons.
We're not going to start doing it now. I'm not going to start setting a precedent, not just for me, but for future presidents, where one chamber in Congress can basically say each time there needs to be a vote to make sure Treasury pays its bills, we're not going to sign it unless our particular hobby horse gets advanced. Imagine if you had a Republican president and a Democratic speaker, and the Democratic speaker said, well, we're not going to pass the debt ceiling unless we raise corporate taxes by 40%, or unless we pass background checks on guns, or whatever other list of agenda items Democrats were interested in. Does anybody actually think that we would be hearing from Republicans that that was acceptable behavior? That's not how our constitutional system's designed. We are not going to do it. The American people have worked too hard to recover from a bunch of crises, several of them now over the last couple of years inflicted by some of the same folks in Congress that we're talking about now, to see extremists in Congress cause another crisis.
All right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. The President of the United States using rhetoric such as extremists in Congress, blowing up the economy. It's reprehensible that this kind of talk is permitted and used at our highest levels of government. We're going to come back in the next hour, talk more about this, and also go spinning the law with Kendall Coffey. But do you know whose birthday it is today? Meatloaf. It's Meatloaf's birthday. He is 66 years old today, and I would like to honor Meatloaf. We have that, Will? Okay. By taking us up to the break, by playing you some Meatloaf and Bat Out of Hell, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go.
There's always gonna be some light, but I gotta get out, I gotta break it out now before the final goes down. So we gotta make the most of our one night together. When it's over, you know we'll both be so alone. Like a bat out of hell, I'll be gone when the morning comes. Oh, when the night is over, like a bat out of hell, I'll be gone, gone, gone. But like a bat out of hell, I'll be gone when the morning comes. Oh, when the day is done and the sun goes down and the moonlight shining through.
Malzberg Show.
Attention hip implant patients. Are you in constant pain? Have you received a letter from your doctor about your implant? Have you had or need a revision surgery? Do you have high levels of metal, chromium, or cobalt in your blood? Over 90,000 hip implant devices have been recalled due to defects and failures resulting in revision or replacement surgery. If you have a recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-0920 to see if your implant is affected by the recalls. If you or a loved one has a defective or recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-0920. That's 800-460-0920. Protect your legal rights today. Call 800-460-0920.
This is an advertisement, not valid in all states. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. iLawsuit.com is an advertising group that represents lawyers advertising their services and is a free matching service for consumers. It is not a law firm or lawyer referral service.
Are you worried about not having enough money to retire? Finally, there's a retirement solution designed to address the damage that the government spending policies and the Federal Reserve have inflicted on the value of the dollar. Introducing the Heritage Advantage IRA, the new gold and silver-backed retirement account from Heritage Gold Group. Don't let the declining value of the dollar put your retirement in jeopardy. The Heritage Advantage IRA puts retirement savers back in control with physical gold and silver combined with the tax advantages of an IRA. Call 855-GOLD-IRA to request your free, no-obligation Heritage Advantage IRA kit. Inside, you'll find information about how to buy physical gold and silver with your existing IRA or 401k. No additional investment required. Call 855-GOLD-IRA for your free Advantage IRA kit. Don't wait. Plans for new regulations may eliminate rules allowing you to buy gold and silver with your existing IRA or 401k. Call 855-GOLD-IRA. That's 855-465-3472.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. The Senate voted today on a funding bill that would prevent a government shutdown, but it also tosses out that Republican-backed House proposal to stop Obamacare. So the ball will now head back to the court of the House of Representatives. House Speaker John Boehner had hoped to avoid a government shutdown by passing a different version of the funding bill and delaying to later in the year the deadline when Congress will have to vote on raising the federal debt limit. That could also provide a chance for Boehner and the GOP to push the delay of the individual mandate, perhaps end a tax on medical devices or even deepen federal spending cuts. But by Friday afternoon, even the GOP leadership was uncertain where this fight might go next.
There's not going to be any speculation about what we're going to do or not do until the Senate passes their bill.
And some 800,000 federal workers could be told to stay home next week if Congress cannot reach a deal. And rescue workers pulled several people from the rubble of an apartment block collapse in Mumbai, India on Friday. The collapse killed at least 4 people and trapped many others inside in the latest incident to highlight what are considered to be shoddy building conditions in Asia's third largest economy. Rescue workers have pulled roughly 20 people from the ruins of the building so far, which was believed to have been about 35 years old and housed families of the Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai. More than 110 people were still trapped by early afternoon, and an official of the corporation had said the cause of this collapse remains unknown. And there were some nervous moments for passengers of a United Airlines flight that was headed from Houston to Seattle last night. The plane had to make an emergency landing in Boise, Idaho, after a crew member suffered a heart attack. A cabin announcement woke up some passengers on the flight, telling them that they would have to make an unscheduled stop in Boise. It didn't take long for word to spread through the cabin that the pilot had suffered a heart attack, and passengers had to jump in to help out.
Several people helped give him CPR all the way down, and then they got the EMTs on there and got him off.
The flight did make it safely to its final destination. Unfortunately, the pilot who suffered that heart attack later died. And in California, a fan of the San Francisco Giants has been arrested for the stabbing death of a fan of the rival LA Dodgers. 21-year-old Michael Montgomery of California was arrested Thursday after police say he stabbed and killed Jonathan Denver. The altercation took place just blocks from the San Francisco Giants stadium after a group of Dodgers fans and Giants fans left separate bars. The brawl between the two groups had begun as a shouting match, and then it went downhill from there. 2 additional men are awaiting trial from a different beating, also involving baseball. Meanwhile, the suspect's father says he was acting in self-defense. And when we come right back, see how a brave 3-year-old little boy saved his mother's life by thinking on his feet. And we catch up with anti-aging expert, author, and actress Suzanne Somers about what she has to say about how women can naturally balance their hormones.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at AftershockVideo.com. AftershockVideo.com. In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at Aftershock911.com. Aftershock911.com.
Did you know that right now, some retail banks around the country are allowing people to exchange ordinary paper dollars for real hold-in-your-hand silver? That's right. You can walk into almost any ordinary bank in the U.S. Then, after a short and free transaction, they might hand you a fistful of silver that's worth $50, maybe $100 or more.
Anybody can do it. That's what amazed me. It doesn't take much to go in there and walk out with some silver.
It's part of a weird transaction that very few people know about, but anyone can try this. You don't even need an account with the bank. A former Wall Street professional posted a free video online showing exactly how to do it. Just go to www.retirementsilver35.com and check it out. Keep in mind, this silver is disappearing fast. Over 2 million people have watched this video already. So check it out for free right now before the silver is all gone. Again, just go to retirementsilver35.com to watch the free video which details this exciting silver loophole.
And a 3-year-old boy is being honored today after saving his mother's life. The mom had a seizure, and her son, who was actually adopted from foster care, called 911. Today, that little boy was honored by the Mesa, Arizona Fire Department. He even got to check out a fire truck and try on some of the gear. His adoptive mother, Katie, says the little boy has given her a second chance at life. So, great story there. And Suzanne Somers talks to Newsmax during an exclusive interview about what women can do as they age to balance their hormones and ensure a happy and healthy life. Somers says there are many steps, including clean eating, that can help regulate women's hormonal systems.
If you can pick it, pluck it, milk it, or shoot it, you can eat it, and you don't need to diet.
Somers also suggested wild salmon, organic chicken, and grass-fed beef as staples of a healthy diet. And she says women should also make sure they're getting plenty of fruits and vegetables, including kale. And I'm John Bachman. That's going to do it for your Newsmax Now update for September 27th. Remember, for more exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax TV and Newsmax.com. Take care.
Are you ready?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, hour number 2 of the Friday edition of the Steve Malzberg Show, 855-777-9660. If you want to weigh in, we will get to Charles on the phone from Fort Lauderdale in just a moment. But previous hour, I told you before we broke that President Obama announcing just moments ago that he has spoken by phone with President Hassan Rouhani of Iran, marking the first time that an American president has had contact directly with the leader of that state since 1979. And let us give a listen. Let us give a listen to and the president of Iran then tweets out in phone conversation with U.S. President just now. Have a nice day. And Obama writes, "Thank you." I can't, but hey, you judge for yourself. Here's what the president had to say about the conversation. Here's how he made the announcement at the White House just moments ago. All right, we're trying to get that ready, folks. And I believe we have it.
Discuss the situation in Congress. Let me say a few things about two important opportunities in our foreign policy. Just now, I spoke on the phone with President Rouhani of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The two of us discussed our ongoing efforts to reach an agreement over Iran's nuclear program. I reiterated to President Rouhani what I said in New York. While there will surely be important obstacles to moving forward, and success is by no means guaranteed, I believe we can reach a solution. I've directed Secretary Kerry to continue pursuing this diplomatic effort with the Iranian government. We had constructive discussions yesterday in New York with our partners, the European Union, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Russia, and China, together with the Iranian foreign minister. Going forward, President Rouhani and I have directed our teams to continue working expeditiously in cooperation with the P5+1 to pursue an agreement. And throughout this process, we'll stay in close touch with our friends and allies in the region, including Israel. Now, we're mindful of all the challenges ahead. The very fact that this was the first communication between an American and Iranian president since 1979 underscores the deep mistrust between our countries, but it also indicates the prospect of moving beyond that difficult history. I do believe that there is a basis for a resolution. Iran's supreme leader has issued a fatwa against the development of nuclear weapons. President Rouhani has indicated that Iran will never develop nuclear weapons. I've made clear that we respect the right of the Iranian people to access peaceful nuclear energy in the context of Iran meeting its obligations. So the test will be meaningful, transparent, and verifiable actions, which can also bring relief from the comprehensive international sanctions that are currently in place. Resolving this issue, obviously, could also serve as a major step forward in a new relationship between the United States and the Islamic Republic of Iran, one based on mutual interest and mutual respect. It would also help facilitate a better relationship between Iran and the international community, as well as others in the region, one that would help the Iranian people fulfill their extraordinary potential, but also help us address other concerns that could bring greater peace and stability in the Middle East.
There you have it. The President of the United States just moments ago saying that he believes there's a basis for a resolution with Iran based on the phone call with the President of Iran. Cited, as I mentioned earlier, that the President told him that Iran will never have nuclear weapons, and that the Ayatollah has put out a fatwa against nuclear weapons in Iran. And although he said there are plenty of difficulties ahead, and verification would be of the utmost importance. He believes there is a basis for a comprehensive resolution. Look, if you trust the Iranians, fine. And we're going to talk about this momentarily with the former Deputy Undersecretary of Defense, Seth Cropsey, who served under Caspar Weinberger. We'll talk to him about this because, you know, it's not as if Iran's nuclear program is the only thing wrong with Iran. Iran is on the list of nations that sponsor terrorism. Iran is Hezbollah. Iran supports Hezbollah. Hezbollah is Iran's puppet. I mean, it's just beyond comprehension to me to say, you know, hey, we're going to lift the sanctions on Iran. We'll work out an agreement with Iran. We'll believe they're not developing nuclear weapons, and you know, we'll go from there. What about Hezbollah? What about their support for terror? What about their threats to wipe Israel off the face of the earth? None of that counts? Now, it's interesting because I hold in my hand right here from thehill.com, President Obama phoned Speaker John Boehner today. Now, I don't know if he phoned him before he phoned the president of Iran or he phoned John Boehner after he phoned the president of Iran, but I'll tell you this, okay? He called John Boehner to tell him he will not negotiate with Republicans on the debt ceiling. This according to a readout provided by the Speaker's office. So within the span of a couple of minutes, a couple of hours, history will note that on the same day, the President of the United States calls the leader of a terrorist nation who supports and funds and perpetrates terror and threatens to wipe Israel off the face of the earth and has threatened the United States and is developing nuclear weapons. He called him and reports to us that I think we could work something out. He also calls John Boehner, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and says, I will not negotiate with you. That is the President of the United States. Let's go quickly to Charles, calling from Fort Lauderdale. I know he's been waiting a long time. Hey, Charles, you're on the Steve Malzberg Show. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for taking my call, Steve.
My pleasure.
You know, the first thing I'm going to say is the president's speech made me angry because it makes me, it sort of paints me as disloyal with his bomb-throwing terminology, and he also takes the position that, you know, my core values aren't as supreme as his core values, and he has no respect.
You mean when it comes to what he said on the budget?
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
he said Republicans are willing to blow up the economy and, you know, hold hostage. All this flame throwing, like you said, violent imagery and rhetoric referring to Republicans who are standing on principle. And by the way, standing on principle the way he did when he voted when Bush was president and he was senator not to raise the debt ceiling.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is that it, Charles?
Well,
no, it's okay if it is. I'm just asking.
Well, there's also this issue of, you know, passing this continuing resolution,
Right.
continuing resolution. Whose responsibility is it to pass a budget or to send a budget to Congress? Because I see that there's been what we call dropping the ball there.
It's called kicking the can down the road. There has not been a budget signed by this president, I believe, since he became president. I don't believe there's been a budget.
It's shameful.
Yeah, it is shameful. We're living on continuing resolutions. It is unprecedented and shameful. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, Charles, thank you. Thank you, and spread the word about the show. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, folks, when we come back, more on the historic moment taking place today, the President of the United States and his conversation with the President of Iran via phone. We'll talk about it on the Steve Malzberg Show with Seth Cropsey, former Deputy Undersecretary of Defense. when we return. Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
A hot new book by Craig Smith argues that the greenback is now at high risk thanks to our spendthrift politicians. Mark Twain said, "The truth is stranger than fiction." The same is true of the Great Debasement, which began a century ago with the creation of the Federal Reserve and income tax. The result, today's dollar retains just 2 cents of its original buying power. Yes, progressive politicians have engineered the largest wealth confiscation in history, creating in essence a fourth branch of government. Learn what must be done to preserve your money if the dollar crashes. The good news is Swiss America is offering the Great Debasement, a $20 value free of charge for this special radio offer.
800-818-3967. 800-818-3967. 800-818-3967. Call Swiss America now for a free DVD. 800-818-3967.
Hello, my name is Fred Fleitz, and I'm the managing editor of Lignet. You've probably seen our name preceding some of the stories you read on Newsmax or heard Lignet referenced on Fox News, C-SPAN, or CNN. Perhaps you've asked yourself, what is Lignet? Lignet is an acronym for the Langley Intelligence Group Network, a private Washington, D.C.-based service that provides global intelligence, in-depth analysis, and detailed forecasting.
Who is Lignet?
Lignet's staff and advisors include former CIA officers, national security experts, presidential advisors, and top-level government officials from around the world. I myself held several national security posts for the U.S. government during my 25-year career with the Central Intelligence Agency, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the U.S. Department of State, and the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Our lead advisor is General Michael Hayden, the former director of the CIA. He is joined by former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations John Bolton and former chairman of the National Intelligence Council and Special Assistant to President Ronald Reagan Fritz Ehrmann, former U.S. Ambassador to Venezuela Otto Reich, and former clandestine service officer Frederick Russman. Former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee Peter Hoekstra also join our advisory board staff.
What is Lignet's mission?
Every day, our goal is to use our expertise, our resources, and our worldwide staff to take the pulse of the ever-changing political and economic landscape and the threats we face on a daily basis. Whether you are following global events for your portfolio or business, or just interested in the world around you, Lignet provides what you need to know to keep up with global events.
What are the benefits of joining Lignet?
There are many. Every day, Lignet members receive the Morning Brief, a daily email that provides summaries and links to our daily analysis to keep you up to date on Lignet's assessments. Lignet members receive unrestricted access to Lignet's secure database of global analysis. All of our special reports, previous analyses, and exclusive video interviews with intelligence insiders are available to members 24 hours a day. But you also get top-notch analysis that resembles the President's Daily Brief, the classified intelligence assessment delivered to the President of the United States every morning. Lignet also sends breaking news emails to our membership list. If there is a development of global proportions or a terror alert, our subscribers are always the first to know. I hope you now have a better understanding of what Lignet is, but more importantly, recognize how truly invaluable Lignet can be. As the old saying goes, knowledge is power.
Join Lignet for $1. Go to lignet.com/radio.
Breaking news and breaking hearts. Aww. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we have been telling you, as we welcome you back to the show, for the first time since 1979, a U.S. president has spoken to the leader of Iran, and we are joined right now by Seth Cropsey, former Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for the United States under Caspar Weinberger. Welcome back, Seth. Good to talk to you, sir.
And you too, Steve.
Well, I appreciate it. Okay, so let's Let's talk about what we were made aware of just moments ago by the President of the United States, that, of course, he was rejected in his handshaking outreach at the UN on Monday, but he called the President of Iran today and has come away convinced that there's a basis for a resolution over the nuclear conflict. What's your take on all this?
Did he quote Neville Chamberlain?
Neville Chamberlain was the first thing that popped into my mind. The naivete is, to me, unbelievable. But you take it from there.
Well, yeah, look, President Obama believes in that everything can be negotiated, and seems to have a soft spot for Iran. And as has been demonstrated by his continued faith, I can't call it anything else, that negotiations will somehow end their nuclear program. They won't. It's really a mistake if the White House is saying that that President Obama spoke with the leader of Iran, because the man who was so-called elected, Rouhani, is the president, but the supreme leader is the Ayatollah Khamenei, and he's the one who really calls the shots.
Well, but let me interrupt you, because, Seth, don't you know the president also, as he pointed out, I believe on Monday at the UN, now points out again today that, hey, the supreme leader issued a fatwa against nuclear weapons. So there's maybe a little bit of Neville Chamberlain again.
Yeah, well, look, the story is that Abraham Lincoln was once asked his opinion about a book he had been given, and he very politely said, evading the question, that people who like this will find this the sort of thing they like. And I think that applies to President Obama and his views on Iran. It's something he wants to believe, and he's going to believe it. So that's pretty much the beginning and the end of this, except what he actually does as a result. But if he believes that Iran is going to stop their pursuit of nuclear weapons because of a few remarks made for public consumption by Mr. Rouhani, then he's making a big mistake, and we'll just have to live with the consequences.
I mean, when you look at what's happening at the same time with Syria, the UN agreeing on a resolution, the Security Council agreeing on a resolution that basically says, okay, with the help of Russia, Syria is now going to show all of their chemical weapons. They've had over a month to move them. Russia gave them probably most of them in the first place. Now we're going to let the inspectors in eventually, and Syria is going to point out all their chemical weapons and give them up. And no threat of military action, by the way, if they don't. But now that's settled. Again, there's no other word but naive to think you're going to trust Assad, a man you call a murderer of 400 children and countless adults with chemical weapons. You're going to trust him now to be honest, to be an honest broker. You're going to trust the Iranians. And let me ask you about this.
Well, wait.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before you, let me just get in a word here.
Yeah.
I think.
I don't mean to dominate. I just mean
no,
to.
No. I understand, but whether he's naive or not is an open question. There's another possibility, and that is that he simply does not want the United States to use force to resolve this issue or to attempt to resolve this issue. And that
are we talking about Iran or Syria?
Both.
Yeah, both.
But in this case, Syria.
Yeah.
And that the United States, for the most part, still needs to be apologized for, and that the use of military force is not going to earn us any friends. And in fact, military force should be, the United States should reduce its military force. And that's in fact what the Obama administration is doing. So I don't know whether that falls into the class of naivete. I would put it into the class of a willful policy.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you on that as well. I don't think everything that happens is an accident. We're talking to Seth Cropsey, former Deputy Undersecretary of the Navy and a former assistant to Defense Secretary Caspar Weinberger, fellow at the Hudson Institute. We only have a couple of minutes. Let's say, and here's what gets me, and let's say that, okay, Barack Obama believes the Iranians on this. What about, I mean, they're a terrorist nation. They support terrorism. They are Hezbollah. I mean, all that goes by the wayside?
No, it doesn't go by the wayside.
I mean, in his view, in the president's view.
I don't know. There are some people who continue to insist, many of them former diplomats, that diplomacy can resolve everything, and that the Iranians have been conservative and have not really come out of their box in a serious way, and that somehow or other Iran can be contained, much as American policy sought to do with the Soviet Union. I think that's a mistake, but I think that's also the way President Obama looks at the issue.
All right, Seth, really a pleasure, and thank you. I know it was last minute. Thank you for taking the time to be with us, sir.
Nice to speak with you again, Steve.
My pleasure. We'll do it again. Seth Cropsey, former Deputy Undersecretary of the Navy and former Assistant to Defense Secretary Caspar Weinberger, fellow at the Hudson Institute here on the Steve Malzberg Show. No, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't believe Obama's a stupid man. I believe there's a plan here, and I think we've seen it in Libya. We've seen it in Egypt. We've seen it in Syria. And, now we're seeing with Iran. He's figured out a way here, possibly, to kind of let Iran get their nuclear weapons or proceed and make it look like they're not. Anyway, that's just one man's opinion, and we value Seth's opinion as well. We're coming back, Spinning the Law with Kendall Coffey on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If you need to lose weight and would like to get paid for it, that's right, I said get paid to lose weight. Just listen to the following announcement. The makers of GCE Green Coffee Bean Weight Loss are looking for real testimonials from real people and will pay you per pound to meet or exceed your weight loss goal. Until now, the secrets of green coffee's fat-burning power has been limited, but thanks to Dr. Oz, the secret is out. And now, this authentic green coffee bean fat burner is available in easy-to-take tablets. There are no expensive meals to buy or strenuous workouts. Simply take one tablet before each meal and record your progress. Only the first 200 callers are guaranteed to be accepted into the program. So if you're serious about losing extra weight and want to earn extra cash for fitting into your skinny jeans again, call 800-383-9230 now. Call 800-383-9230. 800-383-9230. Space is limited, so hurry and secure your spot today. 800-383-9230. Some conditions apply. 800-383-9230. 800-383-9230.
Are you worried about not having enough money to retire? Finally, there's a retirement solution designed to address the damage that the government spending policies and the Federal Reserve have inflicted on the value of the dollar. Introducing the Heritage Advantage IRA, the new gold and silver-backed retirement account from Heritage Gold Group. Don't let the declining value of the dollar put your retirement in jeopardy. The Heritage Advantage IRA puts retirement savers back in control with physical gold and silver combined with the tax advantages of an IRA. Call 855-GOLD-IRA to request your free, no-obligation Heritage Advantage IRA kit. Inside, you'll find information about how to buy physical gold and silver with your existing IRA or 401k. No additional investment required. Call 855-GOLD-IRA for your free Advantage IRA kit. Don't wait. Plans for new regulations may eliminate rules allowing you to buy gold and silver with your existing IRA or 401k. New regulations may eliminate rules allowing you to buy gold and silver with your existing IRA or 401k.
Did you know that right now, some retail banks around the country are allowing people to exchange ordinary paper dollars for real hold-in-your-hand silver? That's right. You can walk into almost any ordinary bank in the U.S. Then, after a short and free transaction, they might hand you a fistful of silver that's worth $50, maybe $100 or more.
Anybody can do it. That's what amazed me. It doesn't take much to go in there and walk out with some silver.
It's part of a weird transaction that very few people know about, but anyone can try this. You don't even need an account with the bank. A former Wall Street professional posted a free video online showing exactly how to do it. Just go to www.retirementsilver35.com and check it out. Keep in mind, this silver is disappearing fast. Over 2 million people have watched this video already. So check it out for free right now before the silver is all gone.
Again, just go to retirementsilver35.com to watch the free video which details this exciting silver loophole.
Attention seniors and baby boomers. A new website has been created just for you. SocialSecurity311.com. At SocialSecurity311.com, we reveal a weird trick that could help you add $152,000 to your Social Security payouts. For example, did you know how you file for Social Security can dramatically change the amount of money you collect? One simple step could add up to $1,000 to your monthly payouts. And other loopholes we found reveal 33 ways for big savings on your health care. At SocialSecurity311.com, you will also discover how you could save up to 50% on your groceries, along with 49 other ways to save as much as $50,000 starting today. Newsmax says this website is a critical resource for anyone over the age of 50. So go to SocialSecurity311.com now to find out how you could add extra money to your Social Security checks. That's SocialSecurity311.com. SocialSecurity311.com.
You have the right to remain silent, but we'd prefer if you didn't.
Spinning the law, spinning the law.
This is Malzberg's
Spinning the law.
Spinning the Law.
Spinning the law, spinning the law.
With attorney Kendall Coffey.
You know, I really cannot believe that over a week has gone by since we last spoke with our friend Kendall Coffey. Hello, Kendall. How are you?
Hey, Steve. How are you? Happy Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday. Usually you and I do this on Thursday. It's turned into a very hectic breaking news day for a Friday with the president speaking to the president of Iran. And we also have one other breaking story that is out of New Jersey. And you and I could start there. A New Jersey judge ruling that the state must allow same-sex couples to marry, saying that failing to do so would deprive them of the rights that are now guaranteed by the federal government. And this is Judge Mary Jacobson, State Superior Court, ruling that under its constitution, New Jersey must allow marriage in light of the Supreme Court's decision, the U.S. Supreme Court's decision, on declaring the Defense of Marriage Act unconstitutional. And this is the first ruling of its kind in the aftermath of that Supreme Court ruling. What do you take on? What's your take on it?
Well, I mean, I think that's the momentum that is in our midst, and it's going to continue. The U.S. Supreme Court, of course, didn't construe the New Jersey state constitution. That's what the trial court is doing in the case that was just described, saying under New Jersey state constitution, not the U.S. Constitution, the state constitution, there's an equal protection violation. But everyone is not just looking at the tea leaves, but looking at sort of the neon lights blaring loudly that say that the direction of the law seems to be toward allowing gay marriage, irrespective of what the states might have in their marriage laws. So, honestly, it's not surprising. Don't know what's going to happen when this is reviewed by appeals courts in New Jersey, but this is far from the last of decisions like this that we're going to see.
Right. So you expected that as a result of DOMA, notwithstanding what states have either decided at the ballot box or what their constitution says, that we'll be seeing a rash of these?
Yeah, I think the vast majority of courts that reach this issue are going to rule in favor of allowing gay marriage.
Based on the striking down of DOMA?
Right, and just the general sense of momentum. I mean, and you know, when you're sort of looking at all the court decisions across the land, that's the way it's going. That's the way it's trending, as some would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we'll follow this. Whether or not Governor Christie appeals it, we shall see. He's in the middle, of course, of a gubernatorial reelection campaign, and some, of course, believe he has presidential aspirations. So I guess he'll put his finger in the air, weigh that, and decide what to do. I want to shift over to New York and a girls' volleyball team at a New York high school. And it's kind of interesting. This is at the Horace Greeley High School in Chappaqua. And, of course, Chappaqua, I believe, is the town that Hillary Clinton lives in. And two boys playing on this team could see their playing time spiked, as they say, when league officials consider modifying a rule that allows them to play with the girls. The seniors, two seniors, both played for the co-ed volleyball club last season, but due to budgetary constraints, the team they were unable to field a boys team this year, prompting the teens to seek a spot on the girls team. Yeah, so they played with the boys last year. Now they're looking to play with the girls because there's no boys team. And they earned these spots after receiving approval from the league officials in August. But New York State Public High School Athletic Association Executive Director says that the issue will be reconsidered by an ad hoc committee in early December, says that he's concerned with the fact that there are two boys playing on the girls' team. I don't know, pardon me, aren't there girls that play all the time on boys' teams?
Yeah, I mean, they've got to compete. But, I mean, if there is no boys' team, which appears to be the case, and if these are young athletes, and by the way, it's pretty important for kids to be able to have an opportunity. If they've got a particular sport, that's the one they like, that's the one they're good at. It's fairly important for them to have that opportunity. The value of high school and middle school athletics is discussed in court decisions. It can be a matter of building your resume. It has a lot of value, and you have to be a little sympathetic with these young guys who otherwise are apparently essentially frozen out of their chosen sport.
Yeah, no, as a matter of fact. And both of these boys who played for the boys volleyball team as high school freshmen in California, let's see, this is Peter, because the athletic director. Yeah, oh, no, this is the athletic director at the high school, rather. He said that both boys had to pass a fitness test in which they were not deemed too physically dominant to play with the girls, and they ultimately won approval to play from the superintendent. Now, Kim Cleary, the boys volleyball coach at another high school, took issue with this characterization that the boys do not dominate. In 2007, she was an assistant coach on a girls' team that played against another team with a boy on its roster, and the result wasn't favorable for her and her team. So I don't know. I mean, am I right in saying that, you know, if the situation were reversed, there would be basically no question here? I mean, in general, but when it's the boys playing on a girls' team, then then everybody takes notice and says it's not fair.
No, I mean, I think you're right. I think we've seen examples of that. And again, what I would focus on is access. This isn't like they've got an opportunity to play on an all-male team.
Right.
I mean, they are absolutely doors closed, doors locked, frozen out. I don't think that these young guys want to be sort of joked about or talked about, which I assume is probably happening if it's high school.
Now, wait a minute. Now that's bullying. Now that's a whole other ballgame.
You're right. But I mean, I don't think they're like dying to go through this. I think this is really their only option, and I think they've got a pretty good argument.
Yeah, I agree with you. We're talking to Kendall Coffey on our Spinning the Law segment with Kendall Coffey, famed attorney and author of a book by the same name. And if you want to read about some of the fascinating cases that Kendall has been involved in, it's a great book. It's what is it now? Was it 3-4 years ago that you came up to my studio that I saw you?
4 years ago.
Wow.
But it's still got some pretty good pointers if you want to talk about court cases and trying them in the court of public opinion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, now let's talk about this case. And I think public opinion played a big part in getting it to where it is now. And I'm glad for this woman. An appellate court yesterday ordered a new trial for a Florida woman, Marissa Alexander. She was sentenced to 20 years in prison for firing a gun to scare off her allegedly abusive husband. And if you recall, she fired it, I think, through the wall, didn't hit anybody, but the judge ruled or whatever that the prosecution said that there were kids outside that could have been hit, and they went by the letter of the law. And I think it was the same prosecutor who decided to prosecute George Zimmerman for the charges that he eventually faced. And they put this woman in jail, and this was her only crime. She had never done anything wrong before, for 20 years, and now the judge says, or an appellate court said, new trial.
Well, it really looked like an appalling result, and raised questions about whether the case was being overcharged. But what the appellate court said, which makes all the sense in the world, was that this woman didn't get a fair trial. The jury was told basically that she, the defendant, had to prove her self-defense beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, we all know that's backward. All she needs to do in Florida is simply raise a reasonable doubt as to whether she had a valid claim of self-defense. So it kind of reversed it. And when you got literally this was a he said, she said, it's real important when you tell the jury, hey, she's the one that's got to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. Well, that wasn't so. And believe me, that made her defense much, much tougher and very well might have accounted for the conviction. So I'm glad there's a new day and a new chance to get this sorted out.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, now we go to the case in Montana. The former high school teacher who raped his 14-year-old student, who subsequently killed herself. He is out of jail after serving 30 days, a 30-day sentence. The sentence prompted calls for the removal of the judge in the case, which is under review by the Supreme Court of Montana. Stacy Rambold, 54 years old, out of prison. The judge, of course, drew a lot of it. There was outrage all over the place with the leniency of the sentence. Now, you could weigh in on what you think about the sentence, but I also want you to weigh in on state prosecutors are appealing the sentence, saying he should have gotten a minimum of 2 years. But I mean, this guy went through the process and was sentenced. I mean, is it? I believe me, I have no sympathy for him, but is it fair to then say, well, you weren't sentenced properly, now you got to go back to jail? So weigh in on the whole thing here.
Well, I've kind of come down on the side of the prosecutors here, because if somebody is acquitted, found not guilty, then that's it. The prosecution can't appeal that, double jeopardy.
Right.
One of the arguments, if they ever try to extradite Amanda Knox, is going to be that she was acquitted, double jeopardy, and she shouldn't be subject to a trial anywhere in the world under U.S. Principles of law. But here, it's a sentencing. And if prosecutors believe that a sentence is too light, too lenient, legally they can and frankly should appeal it. And when I was with the federal government, we did appeal sentences that we thought were violating the law and were much too low. 30 days, if the minimum is 2 years, I'd say the prosecutors are well within their rights on this one, Steve.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. Now, finally, George Zimmerman back in the news, mostly for his wife. I want you to listen to her on the Today Show yesterday, which kind of makes it the Yesterday Show. And this is cut 42, Will. Let's give a listen.
Do you still believe the story that we have all heard from him?
I'm conflicted on that. I believe the evidence, but this revelation in my life has really helped me to take the blinders off and start to see things
Let
differently.
me make sure I understand. So you now doubt his innocence, at least the fact that he was acting in self-defense on the night that Trayvon Martin was killed?
I think anyone would doubt that innocence because I don't know the person that I've been married to.
All right. Now, she goes on and on about how she thought that, she would have a life with him after the trial, and then he dumped her or he ran away from her and blah, blah, blah. I mean, so everything has to be viewed in the context, I guess, of the fact that they're going through a divorce. And I want you to hear one other thing, and I hope this is the right one. She had that incident where she called 911 on him, on George Zimmerman, said that he had a gun, and he was threatening her with the gun and beat up her father. Listen to cut 40 here.
I want to start with, and I don't want to dwell on, but I want to start with that incident, this altercation between you and George Zimmerman just a few weeks ago. You said that he had his hand on a gun. He was threatening you. You said he was going to shoot you when you called 911, that he continually had his hand on that gun. As you know, police say they never confiscated a gun. They never even laid eyes on a gun. Do you stand by your story completely?
Absolutely. I absolutely stand by my story.
You saw a gun, you saw him place his hand on a gun, you had visual contact or confirmation that he had a gun and was threatening you with it.
I did not see a gun, but I know my husband. I saw him in a stance and a look in his eyes that I've never seen before. His shirt was halfway unbuttoned, and he was putting his hand in his shirt and saying, "Please step closer. Please step closer."
All right, so let's start with the last cut first. She was asked specifically if she stuck by her story. She told cops that he had a gun, was threatening her with a gun, and she said, "Absolutely, I stick by my story." So he says, so you saw the gun? And she says, "No."
Well, she didn't see a gun, but
No.
what she and her husband have seen and have experienced is an amount of stress and ordeal and under the microscope that none of us can imagine. And you know, it's hard not to be a little sympathetic to both of them. Not in the sense of, you know, the charges, the Trayvon Martin trial. But just think of a couple. Think of anybody you know that's gone through anything as excruciating as what they've gone through in the last 6 months. I mean, short of illness or you know, some kind of fatality, it's beyond comprehension. So of course they're having some bad moments, and of course the press is there, understandably, to put every second of it under a microscope.
Yeah, okay. So you're saying cut them some slack, I guess, because the pressure would get to any of us?
I mean, don't you think? I mean,
I agree. I do. I just, you know, Matt Lauer made the point to her, but then followed up and said, you know, you lied under oath for him. You admit that, and she said yes. And you defended him to the end. You cried when the verdict was read because you were happy, tears of joy, and now you say you doubt the verdict, and he had a gun when you didn't see a gun. So it's all, I guess everything has to be put into context, like you said.
And seen as an emotional roller coaster, and to not impose, you know, the highest possible standards. I mean, these may be, you know, kind of everyday people that got swept into, you know, the eye of a storm.
And you've seen that happen. I mean, and not to that extent, but you deal with that kind of stuff quite frequently in the high-profile people that in cases that you litigate.
And then the families, like with, you know, going back to the Elian Gonzalez matter, you get very nice, ordinary people that are surrounded by media with the most intense kind of scrutiny, unrelentingly for months.
Yep.
Yeah, they're going to melt down. Yeah, they're going to have some bad moments.
And that was in
They're
your
humans.
book. That was in the book, the Elian Gonzalez case. Boy, I would love to just have you back in here one day for like an hour just to talk about that case, because I think that was such a fascinating and tragic case. But anyway, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you for your being generous with your time as always.
Thanks, and have a great weekend.
You too. Kendall Coffey, ladies and gentlemen, spinning the law. Very interesting cases this week to talk about. We always find interesting things to talk about. You want to weigh in? 855-777-9660, specifically on any of the cases we talked about. Gay marriage in New Jersey. Zimmerman, the Zimmerman feud, the wife going national, saying that she now doubts maybe whether or not he was not guilty in the Trayvon Martin case, or the boy playing on the two boys playing on the girls' volleyball team. I mean, what's good for the goose should be good for the gander, whatever that means. 855-777-9660, right here on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Judging from everything you hear, you think all cholesterol is bad, but that's not really true. You need a certain amount of cholesterol to maintain good health. The problem is that too much cholesterol in your blood contributes to a plaque, a fatty substance that narrows the coronary arteries that feed blood flow to your heart. Picture your coronary arteries as a 4-lane highway. If one lane becomes blocked, traffic still flows well. 2 lanes, no major problem. But if a 3rd lane becomes blocked, that spells trouble. It's the same way with your coronary arteries. And when plaque slows their blood flow to your heart, this can even cause a heart attack. The good news is that when it comes to cholesterol, lifestyle changes can pay off big time. Even a small reduction in plaque can be like opening up another highway lane. Suddenly, blood flow that was stalled can go forward again. Changing your lifestyle does not have to be hard. And in fact, here are 3 ways to help you start lowering your cholesterol. Snack on nuts. Nuts are probably one of the easiest and tastiest ways to lower cholesterol. Walnuts and almonds are among the best. Bulk up your diet with fiber. Choose whole fruits instead of a fruit juice, brown rice instead of white, and if you're eating a baked potato, be sure to leave the skin on. Choose fish. Fish contains cholesterol-fighting omega-3 fatty acids. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
This is the worst weather we've seen in quite some time, folks, and I don't see any end in sight. People have been calling in from across the state complaining their basements are flooding. One guy said he now has an indoor swimming pool in his basement. I told him he needs the waterproofing innovations from Basement Systems. If you want a dry basement or crawl space that will weather any kind of storm, you need the patented solutions from Basement Systems. You've seen them on home makeover shows throughout the country. With a lifetime warranty, every solution is custom designed for your basement. You can finally have that room you've always wanted with our total basement finishing system. Call now for a free estimate, and you'll never have to worry about storms like these again.
Call now for your free basement inspection at 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794. Learn how to waterproof your basement now. Call this number, 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. Folks ask me, what would Ronald Reagan do if he were with us today? I believe the first thing he'd do is stop Obamacare. Already it's in effect with higher taxes, hidden fees, skyrocketing insurance rates, big Medicare cuts, and some insurance plans are hit with a 40% tax. Protect yourself by getting the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's already a #1 New York Times bestseller. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law, giving you the strategies, tips, and loopholes you need to know. If you're insured on Medicare, a business owner, a medical professional, just about anyone, you need this book.
Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare311.com. Obamacare311.com. That's Obamacare311.com.
Attention, anyone with diabetes or prediabetes. A special website has been created just for you. At the free website 99reverse.com, we reveal the one weird spice that's probably in your kitchen right now and how it normalizes blood sugar levels. People who have followed this plan exactly as found at 99reverse.com have not only normalized their blood sugar but stopped taking their diabetes medications with the astounded approval of their doctor. Now you can take this natural, safe, and drug-free approach to reversing diabetes. You won't hear this advice anywhere else. At 99reverse.com, we reveal 3 common doctor recommendations about diabetes and why they are horribly wrong. Plus, you get 3 specific actions to take right now, today, that get your blood sugar under control in 4 weeks or less. Go right now to 99reverse.com or call toll-free 855-99-REVERSE. Is it possible to reverse diabetes? Visit 99reverse.com and find out now, while this revolutionary video is still available for free. That's 99reverse.com or call toll-free 855-99-REVERSE, 99reverse.com.
The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows. We have TV cameras. Watch the show at Newsmax.com or listen on your favorite radio station. Here's Steve Malzberg.
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, in the waning moments of hour number 2 of the Steve Malzberg Show, 855-777-9660. Let us get to the phones and say hello to Tom in Tupelo, Mississippi. Hello, Tom. Thanks for calling. You're on the Steve Malzberg Show, sir. Hey, Tom.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hey.
Hi.
I'm not in Tupelo. I'm in Idaho.
Oh, okay. It says Tupelo on my board. I'm sorry. But
No problem.
You're welcome anyway. Go ahead. What can I do for you?
I wanted to chime in on the Zimmerman. Going from my own experiences with my wife, I would say that this probably roots down to finances and a money struggle. Maybe of course they filed the lawsuits and so forth, and none of those have settled yet. And due to all the publicity and all, I would say they're having financial troubles. And anytime a couple has financial troubles, they tend to fight a lot. And, I know that me and my wife do, and sometimes it gets ugly, like, oh, yeah, I'll show you, And I think this is what it's come down to with the wife, She's trying her best way to kind of get her own picture out there and her own notoriety,
Yeah, no, look, absolutely. I mean, I've been through a divorce. Lucky for me, it wasn't a heated type of divorce, and but I understand the realities of life and of marriage and of conflict. But we did not play the soundbite where she did say that. She thought they had a life together, and now he's left her, or he's running around the country. Well, he's in hiding, or should be in hiding, and I think that's one reason he left the state of Florida. But nonetheless, yeah, there's some bitterness and resentment on her part. Maybe it's well founded. I don't know enough about their marriage, but yeah, you're right. And I think Kendall Coffey is right too. They were thrust into the spotlight with his life on the line, his very existence on the line. He was the most hated man in America, and his life was in danger and still is. So it's a tough situation.
And everything you hear about him, I mean, what was it, just a couple of months ago that made national news? He had a traffic stop where he had a gun in the car with him.
Yeah.
And normally that wouldn't make national news with anyone else. But
Right.
It was George.
Well, he also helped get a family out of an overturned vehicle in Florida prior to that. So yeah, he's gonna everything he does will make news. Listen, I thank you very much, Tom, for calling.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Have a great weekend. All right, folks. Very interesting, very hectic, very busy news day here. Right here, and you know it well, on the Steve Malzberg Show, 855-777-9660. That's the number. Steve Malzberg, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If you're a man over 40, your prostate could be forcing you to urinate frequently, even disrupting your sleep multiple times each night. You're not alone. Over half of men over 40 experience age-related prostate concerns. Fortunately, prominent medical doctor David Brownstein believes that aging prostate concerns are not inevitable. That's why Dr. Brownstein developed Prostate Revive, an advanced dietary supplement containing a unique blend of 15 ingredients designed to promote optimal prostate health. So men, as part of this new radio promotion, you now have the opportunity to claim your own 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, containing saw palmetto, beta-cytosterol, and numerous other prostate helpers. Just cover a $4.95 shipping and handling charge. Plus, if you act now, you'll also get a doctor's guide to a healthy prostate as a bonus gift. Please visit prostaterevive.com/radio for details on getting your 30-day supply of Prostate Revive and free report. That's prostaterevive.com/radio. Do something about those annoying age-related prostate concerns. Visit prostaterevive.com/radio now while supplies last.
Do you have a motorized wheelchair or scooter that needs repairs and you don't know where to turn? Then call the experts at Precision Repair Network. They are the specialists in repairing all makes and models of motorized wheelchairs and scooters. You can call 24/7 and they will come to you anywhere in the United States. They'll give you a loaner to use until they return yours in perfect condition. And your repairs may be covered by your Medicare or your private insurance, so there is little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. If your wheelchair or scooter needs repairs, call this special hotline now and learn how you can get door-to-door service on your repairs at little or no cost to you. Precision Repair Network. They'll get you moving again. Operators are ready to take your call right now. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. That's 800-978-4813.
Voted today on a funding bill that would prevent a government shutdown, but it also tosses out that Republican-backed House proposal to stop Obamacare. So the ball will now head back to the court of the House of Representatives. House Speaker John Boehner had hoped to avoid a government shutdown by passing a different version of the funding bill and delaying to later in the year the deadline when Congress will have to vote on raising the federal debt limit. That could also provide a chance for Boehner and the GOP to push the delay of the individual mandate, perhaps end a tax on medical devices or even deepen federal spending cuts. But by Friday afternoon, even the GOP leadership was uncertain where this fight might go next.
There's not going to be any speculation about what we're going to do or not do until the Senate passes their bill.
And some 800,000 federal workers could be told to stay home next week if Congress cannot reach a deal. And rescue workers pulled several people. And some 800,000 federal workers could be told to stay home next week if Congress cannot reach a deal. And rescue workers pulled several people. The collapse killed at least 4 people and trapped many others inside in the latest incident to highlight what are considered to be shoddy building conditions in Asia's third largest economy. Rescue workers have pulled roughly 20 people from the ruins of the building so far, which was believed to have been about 35 years old and housed families of the Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai. More than 110 people were still trapped by early afternoon, and an official of the corporation had said the cause of this collapse remains unknown. And there were some nervous moments for passengers of a United Airlines flight that was headed from Houston to Seattle last night. The plane had to make an emergency landing in Boise, Idaho, after a crew member suffered a heart attack. A cabin announcement woke up some passengers on the flight, telling them that they would have to make an unscheduled stop in Boise. It didn't take long for word to spread through the cabin that the pilot had suffered a heart attack, and passengers had to jump in to help out.
People helped give him CPR all the way.
And passengers had to jump in to help out.
People helped give him CPR all the way.
To its final destination, unfortunately, the pilot who suffered that heart attack later died. And in California, a fan of the San Francisco Giants has been arrested for the stabbing death of a fan of the rival LA Dodgers. 21-year-old Michael Montgomery of California was arrested Thursday after police say he stabbed and killed Jonathan Denver. The altercation took place just blocks from the San Francisco Giants stadium after a group of Dodgers fans and Giants fans left separate bars. The brawl between the two groups began as a shouting match, and then it went downhill from there. 2 additional men are awaiting trial from a different beating, also involving baseball. Meanwhile, the suspect's father says he was acting in self-defense. And when we come right back, see how a brave 3-year-old little boy saved his mother's life by thinking on his feet. And we catch up with anti-aging expert, author, and actress Suzanne Summers about what she has to say about how women can naturally balance their hormones.
If you are successful at what you do, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a business owner, or you have a great career, you understand the concept of protecting yourself. Well, are you protecting yourself, your family, and your assets with quality term life insurance? Consider these possible rates. A man age 45 non-tobacco user could obtain $1 million of coverage for as little as $75 a month, and this rate is fixed for the next 10 years. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. A man age 50 non-tobacco user may be able to obtain $500,000 of coverage for as little as $115 a month, and this rate is fixed for the next 20 years. We have great rates for smokers too. Call the Term Lifeline now. 800-430-1309, 800-430-1309, 800-430-1309.
Did you know that right now, some retail banks around the country are allowing people to exchange ordinary paper dollars for real hold-in-your-hand silver? That's right. You can walk into almost any ordinary bank in the U.S. Then, after a short and free transaction, they might hand you a fistful of silver that's worth $50, maybe $100 or more.
Anybody can do it. That's what amazed me. It doesn't take much to go in there and walk out with some silver.
It's part of a weird transaction that very few people know about, but anyone can try this. You don't even need an account with the bank. A former Wall Street professional posted a free video online showing exactly how to do it. Just go to www.retirementsilver35.com and check it out. Keep in mind, this silver is disappearing fast. Over 2 million people have watched this video already. So check it out for free right now before the silver is all gone.
Again, just go to retirementsilver35.com to watch the free video which details this exciting silver loophole.
My mom
And a 3-year-old boy is being honored today after saving his mother's life. The mom had a seizure, and her son, who was actually adopted from foster boy, is being honored today after saving his mother's life. The mom had a seizure, and her son, who was actually adopted from foster of the year. His adoptive mother, Katie, says the little boy has given her a second chance at life. It's a great story there. And Suzanne Summers talks to Newsmax during an exclusive interview about what women can do as they age to balance their hormones and ensure a happy and healthy life. Summers says there are many steps, including clean eating, that can help regulate women's hormonal systems.
If you can pick it, pluck it, milk it, or shoot it, you can eat it, and you don't need to diet.
Summers also suggested wild salmon, organic chicken, and grass-fed beef as staples of a healthy diet, and she says women should also make sure they're getting plenty of fruits and vegetables, including kale. And I'm John Bachman. That's going to do it for your Newsmax Now update for September 27th. Remember, for more exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax TV and Newsmax.com. Take care.
Are you ready?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Ladies and gentlemen, you remember the name Gosnell, and you should remember the name Gosnell. Kermit Gosnell was a butcher who was found guilty on many charges, including murder, an abortion doctor, quote unquote, whose practice resulted in the deaths of many babies, some born alive. A woman also died in his so-called clinic. Joining us now is the only man to speak to Gosnell while he has been in prison, and we welcome in Steve Volk of Philadelphia Magazine, who is the author of a new ebook called Gosnell's Babies. Hello, how are you, sir?
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's my pleasure. Okay, so talk about your access to Kermit Gosnell.
You know, as I was watching the trial, I've seen a lot of criminal trials, and the weight of the charges against the defendant is usually visible. You know, you can just see they look heavy, they look haggard. They may offer a smile here or there to an attorney or a loved one in the gallery, but you know, the reality of what's happening to them is present, you know, on their faces and in their posture. But Dr. Gosnell bore the charges against him almost lightly. He smiled almost incessantly, and then we never got to hear what he had to say. And so I was really, you know, just as a reporter, intrigued. You know, who is this guy? And so I approached his defense attorney afterward, and I've been working here in Philly for a while, you know, doing crime stories, and so I think I was, you know, a little bit known to him, and I managed to you know, talk to his defense attorney and gain access to Gosnell himself.
Okay, so you gain access to him, and what impressions did you come away with, or did you gain while talking to him, and how did they differ from your impressions of viewing him in the courtroom?
Well, you know,
did you gain while talking to him, and how did they differ from your impressions of viewing him in the courtroom?
Well, you know, right, to just sort of cut to the chase.
What was that?
Well, you know, I think we were dealing with a guy here who was so committed to his belief in the pro-choice movement, and also, you know, and take this as you will, I understand this will be offensive to some people, but a religious guy, professes to be a religious guy, and he had this kind of self-righteous sort of sense of himself, and I think it became very easy for him anyway to rationalize all the choices he made in light of these beliefs, and you know, and he ended up where he did.
Well, okay, so talk about, because I heard you talk about the fact that you think he was a true believer in abortion rights, and that's what this story is about. How you said a self-righteous belief in yourself and your own authority spirals out of control.
Yeah.
I don't know what that says about abortion rights zealots, and I don't know what that says about him, and I'm not sure if it sounds like you're trying to rationalize the killing of live babies by cutting their spines after they're born. So tell me what you mean by all that.
Yeah, well, you know, if you look at his history, he was he was doing abortions before Roe, and he, obviously continued after Roe. He went to New York and worked in the first quote legal clinic there when the state moved to legalize abortion in New York, and he worked there for several months. He was there at the ground floor of all this. He attended the conferences. He was a part of that industry, and I think for him, and that's the thing, you got to try and recognize where I'm speaking for me, which is a very limited portion of this, and where I'm speaking for him, to just try and relate what he was thinking, and then my understanding of him. I think for him, working with sort of the poor and the indigent, he felt there was a real need for this service. Nothing was going to sidetrack him from that, even the law ultimately. And I found it very disturbing to interact with this guy and find that when you weren't talking about these charges, when you were just sort of getting to know him, there's a real charisma there and a real intelligence, and you could see how he kind of got by in the world all these years. But once we turned to the facts of his case, his logic becomes so twisted to sort of suit his purposes and suit this sense of himself that he had, that he became at times really kind of disturbing to talk to. Because I could see how in his mind this rationalization made some sense, but it wouldn't make any sense to I would think, most anyone else.
Well, he told you he's going to prove his innocence, right?
That's what he said he was going to set out to do, but you gotta understand, he virtually confessed to most of the charges. So and yet would say that these arguments proved his innocence. So to give you an example, on the matter of performing abortions past the state mandated limit here of 24 weeks, it was a convoluted argument. I mean, he kept insisting first that when he wrote 24.5 weeks on the chart, 24.5 should be rounded down mathematically, which let's just even set that aside as a mathematical argument for a second. And I said to him, Dr. Gosnell, let's say we round that down. It rounds down to 24. It's still illegal. Then he started talking about how the law was vague. And then within all this, he admitted to me that he tilted the transducer on the ultrasound. He would basically do a manual. This is his story. He would do a manual examination on the woman or the girl, face it, because some of these people were teenagers.
Right.
He would do a manual examination, looking for sort of the fundal height, right, the size of the uterus, and then if he got a reading there that he felt comfortable with in terms of performing an abortion, he would, if necessary, fake the ultrasound to make the fetus appear smaller.
Yeah, this guy. And he justifies that in his own mind, right?
Right, and then he would say that makes it legal. And what do you say to somebody when they?
Do you think he's sane or insane?
Well, I stayed away within the story from making any sort of clinical diagnosis. As a reporter, I'm not a clinician, and if I call psychiatrists, they never want to weigh in and say this is what I think you're dealing with.
Right.
But I also don't mind in a setting like this one. I think he's got an issue there. I think there's some sort of narcissism. There's like a God complex happening. I think part of that smile is. I truly believe that when people fail to see things the way he does, instead of seeing that as a reason to check his own thinking, he sees it as a sign of how much brighter he is than the rest of us.
Yeah, we're talking to Steve Volk of Philadelphia Magazine here on the Steve Malzberg Show. His ebook Gosnell's Babies is all about Kermit Gosnell. He had access to him in prison, and you could hear some of the craziness that took place during those interviews. Now, let me just ask you. You were on Jake Tapper's show on CNN the other day, and CNN covered the Jodi Arias trial more in one day than the Kermit Gosnell trial in 8 weeks. And this was very symptomatic and of the entire so-called mainstream media. They just shied away from it. There were excuses. Well, it's a local story. It's not a national story. Meanwhile, this is a mass murderer who killed little babies that were born alive. A woman died. It was poor women that were affected. This guy kept feet and body parts of the babies that he killed, and the media didn't care.
Yeah, I've got a sort of a two-pronged response for you on this one. I think that it can't be, when we talk about a trial sort of becoming like a show trial and a part of our national conversation where everybody's talking about it, like the Arias trial, or going all the way back obviously to the trial that started it all, right, the O.J. Simpson trial. Something to understand here that I think just really shouldn't be lost is that we here in Philly, they do not allow cameras in the courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
That is a big deal for television. It just is. Even Fox, with as much coverage as they devoted to it in terms of people sort of rehashing the coverage that came out during the day, they did not have a reporter there in the courtroom day after day doing their own reporting. And I have to tell you, that trial was so complicated and strange and emotionally taxing, right, because of the material involved, that if you didn't have a reporter there to sift through the material yourself, you really were, you were kind of relying on the kindness of strangers and the judgment of strangers in terms of what they thought was important.
Well, why didn't all the networks have reporters there?
I can't answer that question. I think part of it is the lack of moving images, and I would just point out in terms of like the mainstream media side of this, I'm still shocked that Fox didn't have a reporter.
Well, Fox aside, they could do what they want, but I could go down the whole entire list of majors made me out. Now, do you believe really in your heart that if an abortion doctor in Philadelphia had been shot by, I don't know, some right winger or right to lifer in Philadelphia, and that guy was put on trial, you think they'd say, well, there's no TV cameras, we're not going to send anybody? Come on.
It's a great question. I think personally that the lack of cameras is a really big deal, but I don't want to hide from this. I said I had a double-pronged sort of response. I do think this is an uncomfortable story for the left. It just is. Because they can make the argument that what this speaks to is issues of access, and there's something to that, but there's also, if you spend any time digging into this case, you have to deal with the physical realities, in particular of second trimester abortion, because that's what Gosnell specialized in.
Right.
And it is gruesome.
Yeah.
And I do not believe that most people really want to confront that. And
when you say most people, do you mean the audience doesn't want to hear about it, or do you mean that when you say it's difficult for the left to confront, are you saying, as I would say, that the left runs the newsrooms in this country and they had no interest in dealing with this?
No, look, I'm here in Philadelphia, one of the most liberal cities in America, and we went with this as a sort of a national story, right? So I think that ultimately, if you are not already vested in the details of the abortion issue, right, it's just a very hard case to stomach. And I even think that part of the reason, and I'll tell you this, I don't mind sharing this with you. I talked to a Fox producer. They did come in for a few days here and there during the trial, and I talked to a Fox producer who said this story is very hard to make sort of relatable and palatable.
All right. Well, I'll give you one more example, and you might say another good question or very good question, and that is if this was a mass murderer in Philadelphia who kidnapped 5-year-olds and had a systematic way of having sex with them and cutting their body parts up and hiding them in various parts. Now, no matter how complicated that was and why he did it and where the body parts were, you don't think that would add to the intrigue of covering that case, even without cameras in the courtroom?
I don't want you to come away with the idea that I'm
no, and I'm just asking. I wanted you to say another very good question, Steve.
It is a very good question, Steve. Because look, here's the thing. Again, I'll just say this. I experienced this yesterday. I got some kind of horrible review of Gosnell's Babies ebook by Amanda Marcotte from Slate, who said that there was no new information in it. which to me was a little bit like saying, "Hey, there's nothing to see here. There's nothing to see here. Move along, move along."
All right. Well, let me give you one, and I'll end it on this.
Yeah.
I did an interview with a gentleman. Maybe you want to pick up on this and write this for Philadelphia Magazine. A guy named Stephen Jimenez. You know Stephen Jimenez?
I've heard the name.
Okay. Do you know the book of Matt?
No.
No, and you see, that speaks volumes. Stephen Jimenez, a award-winning journalist, openly gay man, wrote a book called The Book of Matt, and I forget what the rest of it is. It's about the death of Matthew Shepard. And,
okay, I've heard of this.
Yeah, but the fact is, I had him on. And you know who else had him on in ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, MSNBC? Nobody. This guy did investigation, and came up with a whole new scenario for the death of Matthew Shepard, one of the most iconic murders in recent history, and nobody gives a darn to talk about it because it doesn't meet their agenda. So I ask you to look into that. Maybe you'll write about that and talk to him, and I think that fits right in with this.
Okay, I mean, for me, I thought where you were going to take this honestly was the idea that whether or not there are other Gosnells, right?
Oh, well, I know there are. The guy in Texas has been accused, and I'm sure there are others we don't even know about. But I'm just saying, as far as the media goes, I think, like I said, if this was a different, complicated, gruesome, hard-to-explain case without cameras that didn't involve abortion and make it look bad, they would be all over it.
You know, I have to tell you, another part of this that really bothered me in terms of the media's lack of coverage is if you look at these show trials, at the end of the day, most of them, right, and the Trayvon Martin case was different, but most of them involve somewhere at the center of them some attractive woman, right? And it seems that's what viewers, I don't want to say it's what viewers get drawn to necessarily because it's what they're offered, right?
Yeah, well.
But a lot of times it ends up being built around that. And I think a case that was built largely around poor African Americans also was just sort of deemed unappealing.
Well, again, I'll say that poor African Americans were the victims of somehow evil conservative Republicans. It would be the trial of the century. But hey, listen, Steve, I appreciate your time, and the ebook, folks, is Gosnell's Babies, and we thank you and good luck.
Hey, thanks very much for having me.
My pleasure. Steve Volk, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, good conversation. You want to weigh in? 855-777-9660. Did the media stay away from that because it's too complicated and because there was no cameras in the courtroom and no pretty woman involved in the case? I don't think so. 855-777-9660 on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
My patients still don't know what Obamacare means for them. And how could they? There are already 13,000 pages of regulations, and the bureaucrats are just getting started. Obamacare will change your health care, and you need to understand how. There are hidden taxes and fines, big cuts in Medicare, even new regulations on what services doctors can offer you. Some businesses could get hit with a 40% additional tax on your health care plan. Please, get the Obamacare Survival Guide today. It's the best book explaining the new law. It's easy to read, everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere.
Special internet-only offer right now at Obamacare911.com.
Attention seniors and baby boomers. A new website has been created just for you. SocialSecurity311.com. At SocialSecurity311.com, we reveal a weird trick that could help you add $152,000 to your Social Security payouts. For example, did you know how you file for Social Security can dramatically change the amount of money you collect? One simple step could add up to $1,000 to your monthly payouts. And other loopholes we found reveal 33 ways for big savings on your health care. At SocialSecurity311.com, you will also discover how you could save up to 50% on your groceries, along with 49 other ways to save as much as $50,000 starting today. Newsmax says this website is a critical resource for anyone over the age of 50. So go to SocialSecurity311.com now to find out how you could add extra money to your Social Security checks. That's SocialSecurity311.com. SocialSecurity311.com.
Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Credit card companies lure you in with low introductory rates or low minimum payments, and before you know it, you owe thousands of dollars in credit card debt. It has happened to millions of good people just like you. But here's the good news. Thanks to a powerful program now approved, anyone with $2,000 or more in credit card debt can cut their credit card payments up to half and even reduce or eliminate interest charges altogether. That's right. Our nationwide nonprofit program is helping U.S. residents cut their credit card payments. Call 800-613-3159 now. The call and information are free. We've helped over 500,000 people with their credit card debt, and now we can help you. Call 800-613-3159 to see how this powerful nonprofit program can work for you. Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Get free of credit card debt today. Call 800-613-3159. That's 800-613-3159. Again, 800-613-3159.
Here's today's silver shortage update from Lear Capital.
Reports keep coming. The shortage is growing. Twice already this year, the U.S. Mint has run out. Last time this happened, the silver price jumped 40%. It's time to take advantage with this special offer from Lear Capital.
For a limited time, buy 20 new silver polar bear coins and get one free. The only 1.5 ounce coin on the market. It's minted with the finest silver, carries a government guarantee, and is eligible for IRAs. The silver polar bear is available exclusively from Lear Capital. But don't wait. Silver supplies are shrinking and availability is not guaranteed. This offer is limited to a minimum purchase of $5,000. Call right now. 800-634-0482. 800-634-0482. Call Lear Capital now. 800-634-0482.
Sure, Steve might be a bit of a hypochondriac, but he never gets sick of breaking news. This is the Steve Malzberg Show. Call Steve at 1-855-777-9660. That's 1-855-777-9660. Here's Steve.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, when we return in a very short segment in this segment, because we went long on the issue of Gosnell, very fascinating discussion that I had with Steve on that, Steve Volk, right at the Philadelphia Magazine. But when we come back, Michael Novak, he has lived a life. He has met people. He has influenced people. He has been influenced by people. And he has written he's written over 100 books, including a great book on sports. But he has written a book called Writing from Left to Right, My Journey from Liberal to Conservative, a man who has known popes, presidents, prime ministers, and has campaigned for the likes of George McGovern and Bobby Kennedy. We're going to talk to him and hear about his fascinating life and what he believes when we come back right here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Told you it was a short segment. On Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-855-625-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So cancel the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-855-625-MY-TV. Right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows. Pause and rewind live TV. Even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $19.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-855-625-MY-TV. 1-855-625-MY-TV. Cancel the cable, cut costs, and get more. 1-855-625-MY-TV. 1-855-625-MY-TV.
Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax Magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary, Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of the springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall.
I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54, with a successful career behind him. Twice elected President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some. Once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew. A fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny. By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. So let's review today in this free offer. We are sending you a copy of Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax Magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th Birthday Commemorative Edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax Magazine every month.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show.
No.
This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I can't tell you how thrilled I am to introduce our next guest, a man who has taught at Harvard, Stanford, held academic chairs at Syracuse, Notre Dame, now holds the Jewett Chair in Religion, Philosophy, Public Policy at the American Enterprise Institute. He has written over 100 books, and this is really his first memoir, a man who has seen it all, done it all, and the book, Writing from Left to Right, My Journey from Liberal to Conservative. We welcome in Michael Novak. Hello, sir. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Well, it's great to talk to you, and thanks for taking the time.
Great to talk to you.
I have so much I want to ask you in such a relatively short amount of time to do it. Your life has been, you've been so blessed, and to know and have relationships and be a part of history with people like Ronald Reagan and Pope John Paul II and Prime Minister Thatcher and others, yet you also spent your early days campaigning for and working with George McGovern, Bobby Kennedy. So you've been on both sides of the spectrum, and as your title of your book indicates, your journey from a liberal to conservative. Talk about how that happened.
Gradually, but I can mention a few highlights.
Sure.
For one thing, I tried hard to work with the radical left at Stanford, but I couldn't stand it when people started spelling America with a K. My family were immigrants, and we were very poor. And the country, America, has been so good to us compared to anywhere else on earth we could have gone, as other Slovaks at the time did, Argentina, some to Europe and Canada and so forth. We did by far the best. And that's due to the country, so I couldn't stand that. Then I started, I supported the war on poverty, and And then it ended so badly that his crime jumped 600% in just a few years. Families started forming. We had enormous proportions of young people born out of wedlock. And whatever you think about that morally, its social costs are enormous, as I learned when I studied it with a seminar of people on the left and on the right. We wrote a report called The New Consensus on Family and Welfare. Evenly numbered committee of 22 with 11 on the left and 11 on the right, and first-class people. And by the way, that book had a good fruit because the Reagan administration got on board it, and in due time, the Clinton administration came from the other side, and then we had a consensus, indeed. And many of the suggestions came from our report. But those things moved me from the left. And then last, I guess, in a row was as I studied economics more and more, my education was in philosophy and theology and a lot in literature, but I hadn't really done much in economics. I had, fairly primitive ideas about the market, and I didn't appreciate the role of incentives in putting action into the system. And most of all, I didn't appreciate the central role of invention and discovery in economic progress. That's something I learned partly from Abraham Lincoln, who started the land-grant colleges in every new territory on the grounds that that's what wealth comes from.
Right, right. We should point out that Abraham Lincoln is not one of the aforementioned that you had personal relationships with.
No, just deep love for and learning from.
Let me ask you this. So is it your view that the left, for instance, the party of JFK, that JFK, so many people love to say on the left that Ronald Reagan couldn't be or wouldn't recognize today's Republican Party. I contend that JFK could never claim to be a Democrat in today's Democratic Party because, he was for a strong defense. He was for low taxes. He was on so many issues. I don't think he would recognize this party.
Yeah, well, I'm still with JFK, and not in every detail, but roughly, he was my hero, and I still, reverberate to the themes you mentioned in him.
And do you agree that he would not recognize today's Democratic Party?
Well, I think not. I know I had to break from it as it became more and more imitative of European social democracy. It's the first generation in American history when some of our leaders said we had to live up to Europe. Where the heck was the New World? Where was the Old World?
Yeah.
And I think they just made a bad mistake, and we're paying the price of it.
Well, if you will, sir, before I ask you to talk about your relationship, a very special one with Pope John Paul II, where we are today with, for instance, news made today, Barack Obama made a phone call to the president of Iran, says now he believes that they could reach a comprehensive deal. I had one guest, former Undersecretary of the Navy, who said the first words that came to mind were Neville Chamberlain. But economically, which I know is very important to you and was important to you in switching over to the right, economically and politically, would you weigh in on the performance of Barack Obama, sir?
Oh, it's not just him alone, but he's just such a novice in economics. He's a novice in foreign affairs. It's just tragic. But look, what I hate most of all about our present economic situation, a lot of people want to spend more money on the poor out of compassion, but where are they going to get it from? They're going to borrow, and our children are going to have to pay it. They praise themselves for their compassion, but they're paying for it out of our children's and grandchildren's expense. That's not much generosity of spirit, I think.
We're talking to Michael Novak, author of a great new book, Writing from Left to Right, My Journey from Liberal to Conservative. Talk about, again, I pick the Pope because I think he has the most gravitas here because of who he was and the position he held. But you, as I mentioned before, so many people that you have been blessed to deal with over your lifetime. But talk about your relationship with Pope John Paul II.
Well, naturally, I was excited because his family comes from the same part of the world my family comes from, northern Slovakia, which for part of its history was part of Poland. And the Pope always said, Michael says he's Slovak, but he's actually Polish, which I thought was a great compliment coming from him, even though I wrote to him and I said it's not genetically true and it's not geographically true. But then I found out, in fact, the counties my grandparents came from did belong to Poland for almost 400 years. So darn it, he turned out to be right again. But he invited me to dinner one night in 1991, the year Centesimus Annus came out, and we hit it off, and his secretary told me anytime I come to Rome, write in advance or even telephone when I'm there. And if the Pope has any free time, a lunch or a dinner, they'd like to have me come over. And they treated me like a friend, and I always brought a joke or two. And, my job was to help him relax. But he always had a few questions for me on economics or something else, probing this or probing that. And it was just great. He publicly called me one of his 3 or 4 friends several times. And that's the thing that's made me happiest in my whole life.
Well,
the woman I married, whom I love so much.
And by the way, happy birthday. You turned 80 on September 9th, and God bless you for that. And, I'm reading here a quote. You talk about, my dream was to write about the philosophy, the theology of American culture, not because it was American, but because there was something different here and unique. It belonged to the whole human race, but we were pioneering it. And I think that, that speaks to American exceptionalism, does it not?
Oh, yes. And I think exceptionalism means, in this case, original. We're the first. This is the place where a lot of new ideas were born. We're the first developed nation. We're the first democratic republic, not purely democratic, not purely republic, and first to establish bills of rights. And the first in so many ways, and that's a terrific heritage to be part of. And not everybody in the world's caught up to these things.
And you're also a sports person. You wrote a book, The Joy of Sports, which is considered one of the great sports books of all times. And I'd love to have you back and get some of your thoughts on the sports world. But really, just a treasure. This book is your memoir, which encompasses so much. And I think everybody should have a copy of it and read it. Writing from Left to Right, My Journey from Liberal to Conservative, by a man who has seen much, much more than most do in a lifetime. Michael Novak. Sir, thank you.
Thanks a million. You've really been very kind.
Thank you. Okay. I appreciate that. Michael Novak, folks. And when we come back, the UN report on climate change is out. And guess what? They decided that 95%, they're sure that we are responsible for global warming. Only one problem. Where's the global warming? They left that out of their report. Mark Morano of ClimateDepot.com will join me when we come back right here. Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Are you at least 62 years old like me? Could you use an extra $50,000, $100,000 or more to live a better life? Then please consider the benefits a reverse mortgage can provide to you. With a reverse mortgage, you can have your mortgage payments stopped altogether and get equity out of your home to live on. And you can use the money to help you live a better life. How nice would that be, not to have a mortgage payment? Qualifying for a reverse mortgage is simple, since there are no income, asset, employment, or credit requirements. However, you must be 62 years or older, own your home outright, or have a very low balance on the mortgage, and be prepared to live in it throughout the rest of the loan. Call now for more information.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names. Really? They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call or go online to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. Call now, 800-908-1254, 800-908-1254.
If you're a man over 40, your prostate could be forcing you to urinate frequently, even disrupting your sleep multiple times each night. You're not alone. Over half of men over 40 experience age-related prostate concerns. Fortunately, prominent medical doctor David Brownstein believes that aging prostate concerns are not inevitable. That's why Dr. Brownstein developed Prostate Revive, an advanced dietary supplement containing a unique blend of 15 ingredients designed to promote optimal prostate health. So men, as part of this new radio promotion, you now have the opportunity to claim your own 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, containing saw palmetto, beta-cytosterol, and numerous other prostate helpers. Just cover a $4.95 shipping and handling charge. Plus, if you act now, you'll also get a doctor's guide to a healthy prostate as a bonus gift. Please visit prostaterevive.com/radio for details on getting your 30-day supply of Prostate Revive and free report. That's prostaterevive.com/radio. Do something about those annoying age-related prostate concerns. Visit prostaterevive.com/radio now while supplies last.
Did you know that right now, some retail banks around the country are allowing people to exchange ordinary paper dollars for real hold-in-your-hand silver? That's right. You can walk into almost any ordinary bank in the U.S. Then, after a short and free transaction, they might hand you a fistful of silver that's worth $50, maybe $100 or more.
Anybody can do it. That's what amazed me. It doesn't take much to go in there and walk out with some silver.
It's part of a weird transaction that very few people know about, but anyone can try this. You don't even need an account with the bank. A former Wall Street professional posted a free video online showing exactly how to do it. Just go to www.retirementsilver35.com and check it out. Keep in mind, this silver is disappearing fast. Over 2 million people have watched this video already. So check it out for free right now before the silver is all gone. Again, just go to retirementsilver35.com to watch the free video which details this exciting silver loophole.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. You need to watch out, because thousands of new Obamacare rules are currently being implemented, and few know what the law says or does. Listen to what Senator Max Baucus, one of the authors of the Obamacare law, recently said.
I tell you, I just see a huge train wreck coming down, and I don't see any results yet. I just see a huge train wreck.
He's right. So protect yourself from this train wreck. Get the #1 bestseller, the Obamacare Survival Guide. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. Join more than 500,000 Americans who have their copy.
Get the #1 bestseller, the Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare311.com. Obamacare311.com. That's Obamacare311.com.
Microphones hot. Satellite link established. Studio lights illuminated. Cameras rolling. Audio and video encoders firing ones and zeros. Internet stream. Streaming. The most technology advanced radio show is on the air. Here's the captain of this enterprise, Steve Malzberg.
And welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show, ladies and gentlemen. And joining us right now is our friend Mark Morano, Executive Director of ClimateDepot.com, or as Barack Obama might call it, ClimateDepot.com. Hey, Mark, how are you?
Doing very well today, Steve.
Well, I don't know how you could be, because you should be quaking in your boots. We should all be shaking and trembling and looking at the ocean to make sure the seas aren't rising, as Al Gore would say, because the UN climate report has determined that, guess what? Man is responsible for global warming. Of course, they forgot to mention that there is no global warming and hasn't been for the last 15 years.
Yes. In fact, this is, the UN has proved itself very adept at exhumation. It's exhuming the old body of the catastrophe back from the grave. I mean, politicians are now dancing and activists like it's 2007. They're partying. I mean, it's as though ClimateGate never happened. It's as though all the data from lack of sea level rise acceleration to polar bear numbers increasing to droughts, floods, hurricanes either having negative trends, downward trends or no trends. It is just a sight to behold to watch them go forward. They're basically saying, pay no attention to current data because we promise you things are going to get really bad in the future, and we must act now to prevent it. In fact, at my website, Steve, Today Climate Depot, one of the lead authors of this report today is a guy named Tom Stocker. You'll hear him quoted in all the media reports. He advocated just 2 years ago tripling the price of gas to save the planet. And he also urged Americans to make a significant dent in their emissions by reducing their per capita energy use. These are activists picked by governments, these scientists, and they do a report that they know the outcome before they start it. In fact, this is only the summary, and the actual report won't be out till January.
Well, let me give you
predetermined science.
Let me give you a quote. The report, when trying to address the fact that the temperature has risen, not at all, basically in the last 15 years, 0.05 degrees Celsius or 0.09 degrees Fahrenheit per decade. And here's what they say: due to natural variability, trends based on short records are very sensitive to the beginning and end dates and do not in general reflect long-term climate trends. Well, so we're talking about 15 years. They're going back from the 70s. From 98, there's been no temperature rise. So they're going they're basing all this from when we expected an ice age in the 70s. They're going from that point to the 90s. But from the 90s till now, which is the same short-term period, quote unquote, that doesn't count. Only their short-term period counts.
Exactly. Time magazine was the best. Exactly your point. When it was warming, the reason was clearly CO2. The climate was very simple. CO2 was the control knob. But now that it's not warming, Time is saying the reason isn't known. It's such a complex system. That's what we've been saying all along. CO2 is not the tail that wags the dog. And you have these people out there that say the fact that there's a greenhouse effect, that CO2 can have a warming effect, ergo the debate's over, we're facing a catastrophe. No, because humans can both warm and cool the planet. We can cool it through our use of aerosols. We can cool it through land use policies. We have many ways in which we can, and when I say we can warm and cool it, it's not even distinguishable from natural variability, but humans have the capacity to do that. Where they lost the plot here was they tried to act as though a trace essential gas in the atmosphere, carbon dioxide, was somehow the control knob for global temperatures and global climate patterns, i.e. hurricanes, tornadoes, etc. And that is just showing up as the most fraudulent claim in the peer-reviewed literature, whether you're talking about their extreme weather. We're at the point now where we have Barbara Boxer citing the United Nations scientists and going down to the floor of the U.S. Senate on the day after Oklahoma gets hit with big tornadoes and arguing for a carbon tax, as though a carbon tax would prevent these big tornadoes from forming.
Well, it's the same garbage that we heard, and you and I talked earlier in the week about how Charlie Rose interviewed Al Gore and Bill Clinton at the Clinton Initiative, Global Initiative, and it turns out that in that 30-minute interview, Charlie Rose never once, and Al Gore, I'm telling you, he was on fire, baby. He was global warming. He was more defiant than his old self. He wasn't preaching in that preacher kind of tone and style, but he was saying, but people are moving in that direction now. Even if they don't really believe, they're saying we got to do something about these storms. Superstorm Sandy, blah blah blah. But Charlie Rose never once in 30 minutes said, "Hey, Al Gore, the temperatures haven't gone up in 15 years." Never brought it up once.
Yes, and that was typical. I just watched earlier today, CNN did a whole segment on this, and they actually ended the segment just uncritical about the United Nations, and they ended the segment by saying, and Al Gore issued a statement in support, and of course it was Al Gore who first warned.
Oh, God.
They're sitting there just like Al Gore is their secular savior, as the secular Noah, as Oprah Winfrey once called him. The bottom line is this is a political report. It's a science body. It's a political body masquerading as the bottom line is this is a political report. It's a science body. It's a political body masquerading as a star. The New York Times, the Washington Post, the Associated Press, and some of the British left-wing papers. But otherwise, the world seems to be taking a collective yawn of this, because this is the head of it, Rajendra Pachauri. The last report he announced about a year or two before the 2007 climate report by the UN. That wait till you see the next report, it'll be so alarming the world will have to act. They predict the science years in advance. They're like Babe Ruth predicting where they're going to hit the ball.
Well, here, and we're talking to Mark Morano, the founder of ClimateDepot.org here on the Steve Malzberg Show.com. I always say that. You can never. Why is it that ClimateDepot.com? Either way, okay, but ClimateDepot.com. But here's there have been, I believe, a study in the Journal of Nature Climate Change that compared 117 climate predictions, since you're talking about predictions, made in the 90s to the actual amount of warming, how they actually turned out. Out of 117 predictions, the study's author found that three of 117 predictions were roughly accurate, and 114 overestimated the amount of warming.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is a stopped clock is right twice a day. So they didn't even make like some minimum standards, on this with these levels. So, and this is exactly right. And the thing that's so important about that is they will look back and they'll look at the medieval warm period. They'll say, well, it may have been as warmer, after claiming it didn't exist. Now they're forced to admit it because there's like hundreds of studies showing that the medieval warm period was as warmer than current temperatures back in like 900 AD to 1300 AD. But they will say, we've done climate model simulations, and there's no other way. We can explain medieval warmth through solar activity and other things, but there's no way to explain the temperature today unless we do CO2 in our climate models. Well, the climate models don't even account for half the variability in nature. They're not even called predictions by the people who make them. One UN scientist, Kevin Trenworth, said they're merely emission scenarios. Yet the faith they put in them, they're now called data by many scientists. And if here's the kicker, if the real-world observational data doesn't match the models, they think something's wrong with the data, not their models.
Right. Well, I'm glad, Mark, you said a kicker, because in radio parlance and TV, that means the last story. And just thanks for joining us today. And, folks just have to use their common sense. And they do. The polls show less and less and fewer people here and worldwide believe in global warming, care about so-called global warming. They're more concerned about their jobs, the cost of energy, the cost of living. And this would just turn that whole thing upside down. Mark, thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Enjoy.
Take care. Mark Morano, ladies and gentlemen. ClimateDepot.com. That's where it is. Again, the Earth hasn't warmed. There's been no global warming in temperature in 15 years. Yet the UN report today doesn't mention it, glosses over it, or says, well, that's a short time period. But in the 70s, everybody thought we were having an ice age. So from the 70s to the 90s, that's significant. That's not a short period. It's the same period as from the 90s to now. So why is this too short a period, but that means something? Because they're full of it. It's a money-making industry for people like Al Gore. Don't be bamboozled. Don't be hoodwinked. Don't be okey-doked. But have a great, great weekend. Steve Malzberg, right here on the Steve Malzberg Show.